I pull the trigger.
Ready for them Chiefs? Y'all ready for them Chiefs?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Gucci there? It shows Gooch is here. I don't know if he actually is or not. Thank you guys for bearing with us. I don't know that Gooch even knows how to start the broadcast, so when my computer was acting slow, and I should have known better because it was one of those things where even the drag of the mouse was wanting to go slow. I should have just restarted it right there, but I thought that it was just the normal startup slowness. But anyway, we're here. You're here. We hope you guys are having a safe, and hopefully you get a 3-day weekend. And we want to thank you guys for spending it with us on tonight's episode. We are going to react to specifically Chris Sims' top 40 quarterback rankings. We're going to spend some time delving into specifically Patrick Mahomes being ranked number 2. We're going to listen to Chris Sims' explanation for why Patrick Mahomes is number 2 instead of number 1, where he has Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes spent the last 2 seasons on Chris Sims at his number 1 ranking. So we'll hear his justification for number 2. And I'll just briefly share with you, we won't watch the 10 or 15 minutes or so on Josh Allen because it's basically a lot of fluff. So I'll just summarize it for you, and we have the link in the description. So if you want to go check out what he says about Josh Allen and the other 2 quarterbacks that he has in the top 4, which are Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, you can check out that link to do that. And then I guess we're going to give our own top 40 rankings, how we see it. You guys can participate in the chat with that as well. And then we'll answer any questions you guys have for us. Gooch, are you here yet? Oh, what's that say? Only on the jet. Oh, Gooch is referring to my comments about him drinking out of a teacup. There you go. That's it. Only on the jet. Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that intro, but it gets me every time, right in the feels. You know what I'm saying? Something about that just brightens up my day. Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm late. I just got into an area and had to step in and make my presence known, which is why I hadn't been talking as much. But I am here as much as I can be for you guys and my partner, Keys, over there.
Well, Gooch, I'm going to let you talk for a couple minutes here while I get our video primed up. How's that sound?
That's fine. So we'll just have a preemptive, unscripted, and we're going to call this one the smoke session. Now, I know that a couple days ago, Chase Claypool said that he was a top 3 receiver in the league. Now, I don't know if most of you know who Chase Claypool is, but I don't think he's a top 3 receiver on his own team, let alone in the league. In fact, I could almost bet that if me, Keys, and the Modfather named off one receiver every day, I could probably get through 30 before I mention Chase Claypool. This is just me talking. Feel free to tell me where I'm wrong. I'm sure a lot of people love Chase Claypool. I probably would have loved him too if the Chiefs would have drafted him.
Hey, let's try this next Sunday. Let's go through the receivers and see. Let's do that next Sunday night.
Bet. Well, while we're at it, then I'll just continue with the smoke session. David Carr, who I've always called Derek for some strange reason until Keys corrects me. David Carr said that Darren Waller is the best tight end in the league. Now, again, I don't get paid millions of dollars to say stupid stuff on TV. I wish I did. But the only thing that The only tight end that I would even let you say comes close to Kelsey not being number one would have to be Kittle, and only because Kittle is a better blocker. Now, Kelsey's blocking has gotten better. It has gotten better. So I will not, when I usually trash him for that, I can't. But you are not going to say Darren Waller is better than better than Travis Kelsey. Tell me where I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll gladly get into it with you in the comments. I'm here for the long run. Claypool doesn't even make the top 50. Amen, Knight. Trying to Kittle. Yep, Knight. That's what I'm saying. Kittle would be the only one. And the only reason is because of his blocking. Because other than that, Kelsey, let me put some facts out for y'all real quick. Everybody that says that Gronk is probably the greatest tight end ever, which I will never agree to, Kelsey has played 2 less seasons and is 280 yards away from passing him in receiving yards. Let that sink in for the greatest tight end of all time. He might be the best blocking tight end of all time, but nobody, and he does get into space, don't get me wrong, but he is not Kelsey at finding the soft spots in the zone. He's not even in Kelsey's league. And again, did I mention that Kelsey has 2 less seasons? Like, 1 season as far as career, but Kelsey sat his whole rookie season. He didn't play. And for those of you, that also includes the Alex Smith years. So please don't get twisted that Mahomes made Kelsey. Kelsey probably made Alex that last year, but he was going to be great regardless. I got some more, but I'm going to save it for an unscripted because it looks like my partner might be ready.
Give me just a second here, and then I will be. So you can talk for about 1 more minute, Gooch, and then I'm going to mute you.
Holy crap. How often do they let me speak, y'all? Like, just unadulterated, like, without cutting me off? This is freaking amazing. I'm in love with it. The only guy in the Back Talk Bros that gets muted more times than Dan Harms does during an RGR live. You know what I'm saying?
Stop distracting me, man.
Is it more yards night? I thought he was like 3rd. Or maybe it was just last season. But I thought he was 3rd as far as receiving yards. I'm not sure. If I ask Keys, he'll throw in the HGs and he'll look that crap up real quick and be able to tell me. But I know one thing. I don't see where anybody's better than him. But I will give you Kittle if you argue it because I understand it. What do you guys think of Mahomes this year? You think he's going to spread around? I'm thinking, 1,000 yards for Juju, 1,000 yards for MVS. Oh, speaking of which, this Sunday, one of these lives, I believe, and I'm kind of giving you some foresight. Maybe he's doing some foreshadowing. Is that what it's called, foreshadowing? We're going to discuss the top quarterbacks according to Phil Simms, but I think we're just going to do numbers 1 and 2, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. But I got some stuff for that for Mr. Phil Simms, so you let him know I'm coming. If you want some of that clip of Wyatt Earp at the train station, you tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me.
All right, guys, we are ready. So, before we get into the clip of Chris Simms talking about Patrick Mahomes and why he's number 2, I want to throw this up here because we want to be as fair as possible to Chris Simms. So this is his justification for his quarterback rankings, and I think it's fair that we understand the context in which he is giving these. So, right there. All right. So his ground rules is this is not an all-time rank. It's not about career potential. It's not about how good a quarterback's team is. It's about which quarterback he would take right now this year with a generic roster. Like, that's it. Or generic supporting cast, I guess he says. So that's what he is basing this off of. Keep this in mind as we cue this up. I want to say I actually thought this was a pretty fair assessment for the most part, but we'll still react to it. So without further ado there, I will get this ready and we will get to it.
Number 2 for you, maybe the only quarterback you could put at number 2 where people are going to be disappointed or fans of that team are going to be disappointed.
Yeah, that's right.
Here's your guy.
Is Patrick Mahomes. Yes, that's right. Patrick Mahomes, number 2 right now. I mean, we're talking about, already a first ballot Hall of Famer. And to me, already, one of the greats of the greats. I mean, we're already at that with him. All right? He's the coolest quarterback in the NFL, probably the most fun to watch in the NFL. I think that's where you talk about his creativity and deliveries and the way he plays is unlike anybody else in the sport. All right, that's where he's just different, And come on, you can watch 10 throws in a row of this guy and go, he didn't really throw one throw normal. One was sidearm flick, the other one was across his body. This one, the legs were cockeyed, and he just threw it. And he's all over the place, but it doesn't really matter because the.
It really sounds like he's making the case for Pat to be number 1 to me. What about you, Gooch? I might have caught Gooch off guard there.
Oh, but, absolutely, he's making the case. He knows what he's doing.
We'll just keep going, but we probably do have to stop and make sure we talk at some point. Otherwise, NBC's probably going to flag this video. Thank you, NFL.
Ball's on the money more times than not. That's where he's amazing. So deliveries, quick release, finding like awkward holes to throw the ball through where you go, oh no, man, the pocket's collapsing here. This guy's open, but how's he gonna get the ball? And he finds some way to get it through the guard and tackle gap there, and it's on the money. That's where it's crazy. It's one of the best arms in the league. He is, of course, got great effect and leadership on his team like we talked about. You got Patrick Mahomes. Oh, wait, there's 4.2 seconds and we're down by a touchdown. We got a chance. It's Mahomes. We got a chance. So it's 4.2. They left too much on the clock. That's where we are with the guy, And then, great touch. I think that's one thing like people talk.
Great touch, Gooch. Did you hear that? Hey, Tyreek Hill, did you hear that?
About his arm. The one thing when I come back and watch him a little bit, and like where I talked about Herbert, who doesn't have anticipation, Mahomes has an incredible arm but does anticipate. He does. He can just lay a ball out there on a 20-yard out route, and the guy's still running straight up the field and just about to break outside, and they turn around and it's like the ball's there. And he threw a slow, change-up that got out there and was right on the money.
Isn't that the definition of accuracy, Gooch? That sounds like the definition of accuracy to me. What do you guys think? What do we got going here in the chat? What do you guys think? Does that not sound like the definition of accuracy? Sounds like it to me.
Or just his ability to Travis Kelce running a deep cross and he's backpedaling and just does this and it just drops, from the sky 30 yards down the football field. It's incredible. And they talk about his scrambling ability. He's one of the best scramblers in football.
What about that? Because last year we talked about that.
Let's go.
A little bit.
That's where I like you. This is where you listen to me and you're going to ask the appropriate question.
Early in the year,
yeah,
you go, something's not right.
Yes.
Something's not right with his ability to escape the pressure in the pocket. Something's not right with his ability to run after breaking the pocket. Did that improve as the year went on?
It did. But I still will contend that I do think it looked a hair slower from the year before.
All right. What's kind of puzzling to me, and I'm surprised you didn't jump in here, Gooch, is like they have the same knowledge of of Pat having his foot injury and getting surgery just like we do, right? Like when he's giving this, he knows what we know. He probably knows more. And so, it seems obvious that, and Pat in his own press conference said, when you have a surgery and you're recovering, you can do the best. You can only do so much to try to stay in shape. But if you're not out there and you're able to do those kind of football drills, then you just cannot be in the shape that you need to be in. And so, yeah, it makes sense that Patrick looked slower last year at the beginning of the season to start that season. So, I mean, I don't know why he's not saying that, because he knows that's the reason why. We all know that's the reason why he didn't look as fast at the beginning of the season, because he was recovering from that injury. And yeah, I think Patrick admitted on his own that he was a little bit out of shape because of not being able to work out the way that he wanted to work out. Hey, Aaron. Aaron is with us. Aaron, we're just a couple minutes in here. You're pulling the gooch tonight. That's okay. Maybe next time it'll be me.
And I will say that I know his toe was bothering me, as you heard me say during the year last year.
Okay, so he admits it there. But why didn't he start out with that when he started his whole, he was a step slower last year?
They weren't going to say it. I know his toe was a concern for them a little bit. So I do think he lost a little bit. But as the year went on, because I spent this weekend again watching these again, and where you go, oh yeah, towards the end of the year, he definitely was running better than early on in the year. And when we talk about the scrambling, he is one of the best scramblers in football. Do you want to cough?
I'm holding it in.
I know you.
And I just want to say, when you mix what teams were doing and what they were taking away early in the season, and you have Pat still trying to get in shape and fully recover, from that toe injury, it makes it harder on him. It's like bumping things up another level, because that was always a part of his game. If you take away the pass, he's going to take off running. And because CEH and the other backs on our team weren't able to be dynamic runners, that put way more pressure on him.
You are. Cough it. I hate that.
There we go.
I would hate that if I was it. That's
Yes.
what I meant to say. I know you, because I can see you're like,
I might need more tea and more honey.
all right. but he's an incredible scrambler. But why he's number 2 is him in the pocket this year was not good. We had a lot of games, if you remember, where
not good.
it was not good for his standards. And there was a few games where I would go, it was not good, actually, for a lot of quarterback standards. I would go, he was bad. I don't think you were here the Tennessee Titan game. They lost in Tennessee, and they were down 27-3 or whatever at one point in the football game. That's one game that jumps out to me, and there's a lot in every game where you see it, where, hey, step up in the pocket, or why are you floating this way? The pocket's perfect. Why are you floating backwards and literally backpedaling into trouble, right?
Gooch, I don't know if you're at a place where you can respond, but I know this is something that you brought up basically every week last season, because as Chiefs fans, we do tend to just worship Pat and look at all the positives, and you made sure that you were pointing out some of these negatives as well. So if you're at a place where you can unmute yourself and react, go ahead and do so.
You're just preaching the stuff that we've been preaching on the huddle, on RGR. Check that out. And even here, that, just, I don't know what goes through Patrick's mind. I don't know if it's a trust in the line. His footwork gets antsy. He's always trying to escape clean pockets. And maybe it's just trust in the line, but we've been preaching that. So Phil Simms isn't miraculously coming up with something that most of us who watch our team didn't know. Right. It almost as if he's backhanding complimenting Patrick for doing what he does, but on the flip side, using it against him to say, well, this is why I ranked him number 2. But you're the guy that sings a song about him at the start of your podcast every time you talk about him. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think maybe he does that because, he wants to set the context and, doesn't want people to think that he's just hating on him. Kind of like the other night when we were on the Dan show, which I would encourage everybody to check out. And we were speaking glowingly of Derek Carr, and there was still someone in the comments who, even though, I said Derek Carr is a top 10 quarterback, and said that he would at least be the number 2 in most divisions, no matter what Aaron thinks, because I'm not a homer. There was still a fan who was a Lions fan, but a closet Raiders fan as well, who took exception to me saying that once you get pressure onto Derek Carr, he looks like Steve Bono. But kudos to that guy for knowing who Steve Bono is to fully understand the weight of that particular insult. But anyway, Gooch, would you say right now what you've heard that Chris Sims is actually being fair in his assessment of Pat to this point anyway?
Absolutely. Absolutely he is.
All right, we'll continue.
There's a lot of that last year. He got a little bit too backyardy last year, in my opinion, where we just talked about Justin Herbert, and I want to go, I wish he would play a little bit more backyard football. Mahomes, I would go, I wish you would be just a little bit more like Justin Herbert and like stay in the pocket just a hair more and play it by the book. He was too aggressive with decisions down.
Now, I know that's something that, Gooch, I know that's something that we talked about on the huddle last year. And I know that, one, he was adjusting to a new offensive line, right? All new starters on the offensive line, and he was having to adjust to that. We know he was coming back from his toe injury. We know that teams started to play them differently, and they were having to adjust to that. Some of the things that what he's talking about here, some of the things we don't know is what did Andy tell him? What was his head coach? What was his quarterback coach? What was his offensive coordinator telling him? All right, if the play's not there in, 2.5 seconds, use your gift. Or, after such and such amount of time, then we go into the scramble drill. Because guess what? We got Tyreek, we got Travis, we have Patrick Mahomes. We're really good at that. All I'm going to say is how much of that was maybe by design, knowing all these different things, all these different variables, and how much of it was, and I do think there's an extent to some of it is just Pat being Pat, and we all get into arguments about how much do you try to coach that out of him, because some of that is what makes him great, which is what Gooch was getting at, is Sims can't have it both ways and both say, well, this is what makes him special and a positive, but it's also why I'm knocking it, I'm bumping him up for this, but I'm also knocking him down for it at the same time. Aaron, what do you think?
I think that's accurate.
Gooch, you want to add anything to that?
I think what he doesn't bring up is, and maybe he did and I missed it, but most quarterbacks, at least elite level quarterbacks in their head, have an internal clock that they're on. And I think a lot of Patrick's ducking came from remembering which would be 2 years ago, before he got this new line. And now when he was having time, his internal clock was good enough, but he still had time. And by the time he realized it, he had already reverted back to playground Pat. I hate saying playground Patrick, but backyard Patrick or Brett Favre, and was already deciding to do something different when he could have taken his time, which I think in the beginning of the year was a big problem. But I think he settled down and started dissecting people later. That's all.
Yeah. So far, I mean, I think it's all fair. I'm nitpicking a little bit what Sims is saying here because there is some of that we don't know. We don't know how much of that came from like Andy and Bieniemy, giving him some of that leeway and all these other variables going on here. But we'll progress and see what else Sims covers.
on the field, predetermining decisions, you know, trying to make big play and the magic happen, and you'd sit there and go, damn, there's 3 people underneath open for 7 yards.
Now, this is something else that we were kind of critical of Pat for, and it's also something now that Tyreek has left and some of his comments have came out that I think some of us kind of wonder how much of that was because Tyreek was saying things in the locker room and that put more pressure on Pat to kind of look his way to appease him. What do you guys think?
Well, I know I've noticed people open underneath and he doesn't hit them. Of course, you've noticed Clyde a lot. But I know the big game against the Rams that Monday night with all the points, that Travis was wide open underneath at the end of the game right by the sideline, and instead of going to him, taking the yards, he tried to throw deep again, and it got picked off by Peters, I believe, on that one.
Yeah, and I know we've mentioned it before over on the Roguehead Huddle. You know, we've been critical of that at times, but at the same time, you know, I'm going to try to make it as balanced as possible. At the same time, quarterbacks don't usually go through, they don't have a 5-read progression. They have a high-low progression. So, and with our offense and with our offensive weapons, my assumption anyway, so this is just conjecture, but my assumption is the progression is usually Tyreek, Travis, dump off to the running back, fullback, whatever, right? A lot of these plays, they're designed, and you've heard Bieniemy in every single press conference that he's ever given, every single play we call is designed to score. Like, that's the intention. They believe every single play call they have, every play they have in their playbook is designed to score a touchdown. So you have Tyreek, you have Travis. Those are your 2 guys, right? One or the other, depending on the play, is usually going to be your number 1 read. The other one's your number 2 read. And your running back or whoever's in the flat is, you know, whoever your dump off guy is your 3rd read, your safety valve. And other guys are usually there to draw coverage away. And then sometimes it's the exact opposite, right? Sometimes, depending on how the defense is playing you, you know that Tyreek is now your decoy, like how they use Sammy Watkins. Sammy's a perfect example of this because for most of his time in Kansas City, he was the decoy. But guess what? In the Super Bowl against the 49ers, he wasn't the decoy on that one play against Richard Sherman that he caught that big catch. So it goes back and forth according to the defense, in my opinion. So I think there's an extent to where that's a fair criticism because we've all seen the guys. We've seen Hardman, right, waving his hand and coming back to Pat after the play was over and being like, hey, I was open. You know, we've seen even Robinson and Pringle standing there wide open. And Pat still taking the deep shot. And we get frustrated about that. But some of that is we don't know for sure what Andy and what Eric are telling him. And if he's making the decision that the coaches, you know, if he's making those decisions honest to Andy and Eric's coaching philosophy, or if he's just being super aggressive himself, or maybe both, or, you know, what. Do you think that's fair? Am I in the right area code on this? What do you guys think?
I would say so.
Gooch? All right, fine. We'll move on.
Why are we throwing a sidearm 40-yard throw down the middle of the field into double coverage? So that's, to me, is why he's 2. He's still awesome, But I think between those two things, he had a little bit of a down year. He was a little careless with the football at times. And I think that's why I gave the edge to Josh Allen as being the number one guy.
If you only went off what you saw last year and didn't know about Patrick Mahomes and how great he has been,
No doubt. I don't think there's any doubt.
where is he?
Well,
If you just went off of if all you knew about Patrick Mahomes was what you saw last year.
yeah, I still think he
I think this is an awesome question. So basically, he's saying, like if last year was Patrick Mahomes' first year, like the only year you've ever seen him play, where would you rank him at? And I think that's an interesting question, even for us as Chiefs fans. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I have no idea. He definitely did not start off the greatest. I don't know where I would have ranked him answering this question.
I mean, I'm with you. To me, this is kind of a tough one. What do you guys think in the chat? I'm going to take a break here for a second because I haven't even been able to look at the chat here, guys. So you let us know in the chat really quick. What do you think? If you'd never seen Patrick play before this last season, where would you rank him based off of last season? Hey, Maui. Hey, Angry Drunken German. Scott. Who else we got in here? Is that KL368? What do you think, Gooch? I'm going to throw some.
I'm lost. What was the question?
The question that was posed to Chris Sims that we're now posing to you and ourselves, if you had never seen Patrick Mahomes in the NFL before last season, based off of last season only, because you never seen him before, where would you have him in the quarterback rankings? Just last season, if you've never seen him play before.
I would assume he was top 5.
Okay.
Even the way he
Just-
started out.
Yeah, because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And if you can correct yourself, like all the stuff that I was nitpicking in the beginning of the year was slowly getting better as the season wore on. Somebody that can make the adjustments and work on their craft and still be one of the top guys in the league is got to be top 5.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that I can disagree with that. I'm not sure. I mean, I think probably the guys that are in the top 5 would probably be there basically no matter what. You'd probably put Herbert and Allen and Rodgers and I guess maybe Burrow. Who else would you put in the top 5 over who would you put above Patrick? I mean, based off of, everything. I think there's just a couple of cringe moments to where, and by cringe, I mean for Patrick, right? For basically every other quarterback, that's just part of their, they have those moments way more often than he does. So
The normal answer in that top 5 would be Russell Wilson, but he didn't have a top 5 year last season. So I don't know who else would be in that top 5.
if it was by design, would we have seen more passes thrown away versus attempts and interceptions?
That is a good one.
I think that comes back to, what is Andy and Eric's philosophy when dealing with Mahomes? What have they told him?
I would think don't be a hero.
I would hope they have been telling him that, but it kind of comes back to what what a lot of Chiefs fans have debated for at least the last season or two, like how much of who Mahomes is, like his personality and everything, do you try to harness and take away and coach away, and how and to what extent do you just like let him go out there and be himself, And so, I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that any of us do because, we don't necessarily have an insider in the Chiefs coaching staff. But yeah, you would hope that that would be something that we see more of this next season. I do want to say this though, because Andy is just as aggressive as Pat is. And Andy is, right? Go back to Super Bowl 54 or Super Bowl 55. Andy was not giving the offensive line extra protection. He wasn't taking away a running back or tight end to chip or, putting a sixth offensive lineman out there to block. He stayed the same. He stayed the same the whole game. He stayed aggressive the whole game. We kept trying to go deep the whole game. That wasn't just Pat. That was just as much Andy. And that was 2 years ago. 3 years ago. 3 seasons ago. So, I think there's an extent where Andy is just as aggressive. Am I wrong on that, Aaron?
No. I would have to agree.
Just not on fourth down, but
Right.
Patrick puts the pressure on him on fourth down to go for it. So
I'd agree with that, Wink. Nobody really dominated start to finish last year. As far as quarterbacks go.
all right, we'll move on here.
He's right here in this conversation. He's still too wowing and makes too many good plays. And even we're being picky when I talk about not being good in the pocket or being too aggressive. I mean, again, I'm holding him to a standard here that's
The
a
Patrick
little,
Mahomes standard.
exactly
Yes.
right. It's we're talking Super Bowl, and you should go to the Super Bowl standard we're talking about here. But no, even with that, again, there's some games where you just go, this game was f***ing unreal the way he played. Like maybe only Josh Allen could do this today. That's it. There's nobody. But I do think you saw some.
That was both a compliment and to me an insult because I don't think some of his most wowing moments are things that Josh Allen will ever be able to replicate. So that part I gotta kind of push back against. There are things that Josh Allen simply cannot do that Patrick Mahomes can do, and some of that starts with some of Patrick's throwing platforms, which allow him to make throws that Josh Allen could only dream of making. What do you think, Aaron? What do you think of that particular comment?
Sorry, I had to run off to grab my drink. What was...
Here, I'll rewind it just a split second here, hopefully.
Thank you.
Don't go back too far.
He just went off of only if all you knew about Patrick Mahomes was what
Go
you
back
saw
here a
last
second.
year.
Yeah, I still think he's right here in this conversation. He's still too
Like Duke
wowing and makes too many good plays. And even we're being picky when I talk about not being good in the pocket or being too aggressive. I mean, again, I'm holding him to a standard here that's
The
a
Patrick
little,
Mahomes standard.
exactly
Yes.
right. It's we're talking Super Bowl, and you should go to the Super Bowl standard we're talking about here. But no, even with that, again, there's some games where you just go, this game was f***ing unreal the way he played. Like maybe only Josh Allen could do this today. That's it. There's nobody.
That comment specifically right there.
About Josh Allen?
Yeah, that Mahomes makes some plays that maybe only Josh Allen could make. And I was saying that some of those plays that Josh Allen could not make. There's absolutely no way that he can make some of these plays that Pat makes.
I agree. He's not near as accurate.
He's not, and he took that step back just like I said he would.
Right.
But one of the things I said is because of his unique athleticism, from playing baseball and his insane core strength, there are just throws, all kinds of different throws that Josh Allen will never be able to make that Patrick
Those
Mahomes can make.
Shortstop throws.
Right.
which I played a little shortstop. I used to be able to do that, but I doubt I could now.
But I do think you saw some glimpses too of when he plays it by the book a little bit, he can really be surgical. Like, remember my two games I was going to the Raiders game in Las Vegas, the Chargers game in Los Angeles. Two of his best games of the year because they I know he had a beat it in his brain all week. They're not going to give you the big play. You're going to have to settle for the underneath stuff and be patient and do that. And he kind of accepted it in those games and was surgical and was awesome. Completion percentage, the right decisions, the right throws, and then, of course, made the splattering of, big plays. But that, to me, was the best. There was too many other games where it was like, well, they're not that good on defense. I'm going to fit this 45-yard sidearm throw in there. Oh, it was incomplete. Oh, there's another one incomplete. Oh, shit, we're punting. What's wrong with Kansas City's team today? They're a little off kilter here, Jim. Oh.
To me, that's, what he just said is fair. I think that was a lot of our frustrations from this season. He summed it up. Sim summed it up perfectly. So I guess he simmed it up, in my opinion.
Also not running.
So, right.
We should.
Right. But, yeah, I mean, I think the results, right? He's talking about the results is what frustrated us because we would see those games where 8, 9 guys had a target, right? And Mahomes was just slicing up defenses. And then we saw those games where, and again, who knows now? I got a lot of skepticism after seeing, Tyreek let his true side come out now that he has the safety net of a lot of bank and a lot of guaranteed money stopping the Dolphins from really cutting him, kind of like Deshaun Watson with the Browns. But, anyway, I'm kind of skeptical of that. How do I know now, right? Because we would see those games and it was like, we need to see 17 games a season of this, right? Of Patrick hitting 8, 10 guys and just carving up defenses. And then right after that, what would we see? It was back to Tyreek or Travis, Tyreek or Travis, Travis or Tyreek. And so now maybe, I'm wondering, maybe Tyreek was throwing temper tantrums during those weeks. And then he was demanding the ball more. So then Patrick felt the pressure to go out the next week or the next 2 weeks or the next 3 weeks and just force feed him the ball. Because as we saw, 159 targets this last season was underutilizing him and wasn't good enough.
And then you got Hardman throwing his hands up.
Right. And again, I mean, how much do we know that it wasn't Tyreek wanting the ball? Or, at least Andy or Eric saying, these are your two playmakers, or even Patrick knowing in the back of his head, this is the last year of, excuse me, of Tyreek's contract. I want to help him get paid, even if Tyreek didn't say anything. So he felt that pressure as a teammate and as Tyreek's quarterback, to maybe force it. We really don't know. Well, all we really know is the results of it. And I think Sims is right on here because this is what would get so irritating. We could see what the offense could do, right? And I know, Gooch, I don't know if you're listening. I don't know where you're at right now, but I know we talked about this on the huddle as we were giving like our week by week previews. There was a moment where I said, I got to see this Patrick Mahomes against a team other than the Raiders because, we just weren't seeing it. So I get what Sims is saying here. And I don't think he's being unfair in anything really that he's saying about Mahomes, other than those few small things that, I pushed back a little bit because I think there is some context there for some of that.
Do you think things changed now with him out of there? Or do you think like Smith-Schuster or MVS start acting like that?
Man, I don't think they can afford to act like that because of how respected Andy is and how respected Pat is. And well, I mean, MVS is on a 3-year contract, right? So, but they can get out of it if they want to. So he's not really in that place. But as far as Juju, I mean, the Steelers chose to not re-sign him. He wanted to come back. The Steelers chose to move on from him. And I think if you take a 1-year deal in Kansas City and you act up like that with as respected as Andy and Pat is, I think it's kind of going to leave a bad taste in most owners' mouths. But at the same time, I think if teams see you spreading the ball around and they see you as Juju being a strong contributor in that offense, I don't think they're going to knock him for it. But I mean, I don't know. I think that's a great question, but I think we're all going to be disappointed if we don't see them spreading it around more and see Mahomes surgically carving up defenses.
I know I will be.
Right.
They're not, executing is good. What's going on here? Mahomes isn't starting off. Well, yeah, it was usually that.
Is that your Tony Romo?
That was, I guess I was being Tony Romo. I was trying to be Jim going to Tony.
Sounds more like Troy Aikman or Joe Buck.
Yes, I messed it up. But, yeah, I think that's what, it came back to more times than not with him.
So we have a couple of graphics that kind of illustrate your point. I think you can get deeper into it.
I'm glad.
The heat maps. We have the heat maps.
They don't know my points, so this is
from
good
2020 to 2021. If Courtney, if we have those, because they played them to not get beat, right? I mean, you got Tyreek Hill you got to defend against. You got some other fast guys on that offensive side. So you play deeper. So 2020, you see Patrick Mahomes went more what? What is that?
The 2020 went more middle, and there was more outside the numbers.
More
right?
outside.
More of that 10+ outside the numbers.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's almost none of that last year. I mean, very little. Below average.
Very little. Right. And you see your teams, I think to your point, you're right. They took away a lot of the deep stuff. So, therefore, he had to settle for, McCole Hardman under.
So I'm just going to pause it here so you guys get that chance to look at those two different heat maps before they take it away there. But, Aaron, does anything on there surprise you?
Not really.
Gooch?
We were taking what they were giving us a lot of the time. And
Now,
it seemed to go away from that as the year went on, though, and trying to go deeper.
Yeah, I think this is where if we had a better running back and we were more committed to a true play action passing game, where some of this would go away. But, I mean, this is what defenses are supposed to do, right? And now they have, 4 years of heat maps of Andy and Pat, so they know where they like to go. They know, I mean, they have all kinds of analytics, so they know where does Patrick's best, completion percentages come from? What kind of throws? This is all the information that defensive coordinators have. I think sometimes we forget that because it doesn't seem like our defensive coordinator uses it at times. But, I mean, teams have that, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to look at where do they like to go, where are their strengths? Okay, we're going to drop people into zones in those areas to take away those throws. That's what you're supposed to do as a defensive coordinator.
Underneath, or Travis Kelce in the red on the image on the right there, and all those red in the middle. I would think the majority of those are Kelce over the middle. Wait, they took away Hill deep. They took away McCole Hardman deep. All right, here's Kelce underneath. Boom, it was that. You see a lot of the throws in the backfield again to the backs and all that. But as I discussed last week, again, where people are going to look at it and go, well, yards completion weren't that great. Yes, I know that. I've heard people try to push back. Well, his yards completion weren't, big. It wasn't huge. Yes, but they weren't huge because of what he can do. It wasn't they were like, well, we got to call a lot of short passes because our quarterback can't throw the ball. He can't do that. No, they had to throw it short because everybody is so sick of seeing him throw bombs over their heads to Tyreek Hill that the league figured out how to stop that, and it made him have to be more patient, except he just wasn't more patient all the time. And
Again, I think this is super
Accurate.
fair. Yeah, I think this is super fair, and I think he's going out of his way to counter some of the stupid popular arguments out there that are wrong, and to add some great context to some of those other nitpickings that other people have of Patrick's game.
I think that's why, really, again, he's number 2. But this guy is awesome.
How different will that offense look this year, and what might he have to do differently? Because you got Tyreek is out, you got Demarcus Robinson is out, you got
Yeah.
Byron Pringle is
I
out.
know.
There's some speed out.
Yes.
And is Juju Smith-Schuster, who's been good in the past, don't know exactly what he is right now.
Right.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he can go deep
He
for
can.
sure.
Yes.
Sky Moore, who I know you liked a lot.
I do. Yes.
I mean, how much different will Mahomes look this year than he did last year?
I don't think it's going to look a lot different. I think what it will do is the fact that Hill's not there, a little bit like we talked about with Watson and DeAndre Hopkins a few years ago. I think it'll get him off of him a little bit and go, let me just get to the offense instead of like, let me see if I can make magic happen and make a big play with Tyreek. I think that's the biggest thing. I think also it's going to make him utilize just the system itself a little bit more instead of looking for the guy and the matchup, right? Oh gosh, here he's running down the middle. It's Tyreek against a safety that's not as good or whatever. I think I should just throw it because he's better than that guy, or even though the guy's in good coverage, or I think he'll play it by the book a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think he's going to spread the ball out a little bit more. And I think really it could end up being a little bit more of an effective offense in some ways. We'll see where it goes. Again, because it's not like they're losing I
think the key there is a little bit more because, again, I don't think Andy and Pat themselves, I think they're still too aggressive to like fully get away from that. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think, Aaron? You agree with what he's saying there? Is that what you want to see? I think that's what we want to see.
Definitely. They need to spread the ball around a lot more and not be so predictable. And that's basically what we have been calling for at least the last year.
Right. Well, I mean, I think we get antsy too, right? Like we still love those games, like those second quarters that we had against the Raiders, where you basically win the game in one quarter. So I think it's kind of like whatever, as long as you're winning, you don't get too nitpicky. But when you start to struggle a bit, then So
You question everything.
yeah, so we might have to be patient as well. But I think the offense is good enough that we don't need to see a one-play 75-yard drive. I think we can, if we don't already, I think we can come to appreciate a 12 or 15 or 20 play surgical 75-yard drive where we just go out and dominate by getting first downs.
Especially in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, there's something disheartening for the other team about having a 15-play 75-yard drive, over and over again, where you're getting first down after first down after first down after first down after first down, and they can't stop you.
And you're just wearing down that defense.
Mentally, especially. Like, yeah, you can do it in the run game, but no matter how you're doing it, if you have a play like that, or 15 play drive or so, right? Let's see, 15, you would have what, like 5 first downs, maybe, 5 to 8 first downs there, and that can be super disheartening, for a defense. We know this from personal experience, right?
Yes.
Through the Sutton and Spags years, that it can be really disheartening on a defense to just have that happen and have a team, okay, we get them to 3rd and 15. All right, this is our one chance to get a stop and force a punt in the game, and then they pick up a first down, and then you're like, well, so.
I still think this is going to be a pretty good receiving group. I'm one of those that thinks it's going to be. So we'll see where it goes. And
it would be a bold prediction to say they're going to be better.
Yeah,
without-
I don't think it's going to be any worse. That's where I will say I don't think it's going to be any worse.
A semantics debate right now.
yeah.
Do we have the graphic of the height too?
So if Sims doesn't think our receiving core is going to get any worse, what does that mean? Is he saying it's going to be better? Is he saying it's going to basically be the same? Like, what does that mean?
Here, Kristen, so here it is. So this is the height of the receivers last year. The height of the
There's no
receivers this
Sky
year.
Moore
So
on
what
here
have they
for some
got? I
reason.
guess it's
Got a little
fairly
taller.
similar. The one that's taller is MVS.
Yeah, MVS gives them definitely a little bit more
what
length.
happened to my
Tyreek was
computer.
5'10", but
Yeah, so I don't
Went out.
I don't know why they don't have Sky Moore on here, but yeah. They're showing this for the height, but I also want to say, not to take away from Prangle or Robinson, but not only is there a height difference, there's definitely a speed difference. But, I mean, then you go backwards in that category from Tyreek to Sky Moore, so maybe...
Fireworks are scaring my dog.
Yeah, I'm hearing some every once in a while, too.
I don't know how tall Sky Moore is.
Sky Moore's about 5'10" as well.
Right.
I've met him in person, 5'10", 5'11". But yeah, the Valdez Scantling, I think, is real. I think, again, I think he's a more dangerous receiver than Brian Pringle or Demarcus Robinson. So I think that's an upgrade. And then a Juju, to me, is almost like a awesome pass catching tight end that just got more speed. He's going to work the middle of the field. He's going to be tough over the middle. He's not afraid of contact.
See, I'd agree with this because I keep saying that I think that Juju is going to allow Travis to take more breaks and be more refreshed because that's why I just see him playing, kind of helping us not to have Travis out there. At the same time, if you put them both out there, then you can start to really do some fun stuff over the middle.
He'll help you out there. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw in Kansas City a little more emphasis on the 6 and 8 yard completions, even though they're never going to abandon their, you run deep and you run deep and you run deep. But I think with Juju, all right, and being a pretty good route runner and being good in that area, we know Kelsey's great in that area.
Right.
Sky Moore, to me, is a little unlike anybody they've had to this point.
Who is 5'10".
He is 5'10".
Your brain retained that information.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yep, and he's
Why do you say that?
well,
Buddy?
he's a really good route runner. They haven't had like a real slot receiver. The jitterbug can read and make all the sharp, tight cuts and all that, to where I just look at what they got and go, man, guys like Sky Moore and Juju, they're good at that stuff. They are. And so is Kelsey, to where I could see them maybe having a little bit more offense of finding the 5 and 8 yard completion. And then, oh, shit, they're picking us apart with the 5 and 8. And then you go, oh, shit, there goes Valdez Scantling or McCole Hardman over our heads. I could see that being a little bit more instead of it was the.
I think that's what we're all hoping for, right?
Exactly.
The opposite the last 2 years. Just go deep, go deep, go deep. And when they get so deep, we'll finally throw it short. I could see them this year going intermediate, short. Okay, they're starting to creep up, guys. Unleash the Mahomes bomb. And then it's touchdown, Kansas City. So that's maybe, I guess, where I'm expecting a little bit more.
Going to be
this
so
year.
many highlight plays from them again, but it's going to be difficult. And it was last year because their schedule last year, they only had 5 games versus teams who had a losing record last year, and 2 of those were the Broncos. We think the Broncos will be better this year, so the division might be as tough as any division out there in football. And they start with at Arizona. Woo. Thursday night football, big one for Amazon against the Chargers and Justin Herbert. At Colts, at Buccaneers on NBC. Raiders, Monday Night Football, Bills, at 49ers. Jeez. Although I do,
Bye week Titans.
Bye week and then Titans. what I do realize going through these schedules is that the NFL is pretty good. They got a lot of good teams
Right,
in the NFL.
right.
It's
I
like
know.
there's not many cupcakes
There's really not.
in this league, but that's very, very difficult for the Chiefs.
It was very difficult last year.
It was.
You know, to your point. I mean, I remember last year coming down the schedule going, damn, can Kansas City really, for a fourth year in a row, come out and be like one of the top teams in the AFC? And my answer to the one this year is yes, they can. I just would be shocked. They're ahead of the curve. Their team is in a good spot. You know, they changed over their team in the midst of Super Bowl runs. A little like New England used to do, where you go, they're kind of rebuilding and still going to AFC Championship games. What is going on? Why is the rest of the league rebuild and we all fall off? And Brett Veach and Andy Reid are retooling and kind of turning over the team, and nothing's changed. We still look at them and go, oh, shit, here comes Kansas City. So, I mean, I don't worry about them. One, they're a tougher, more physical team than people give them credit for. It's one thing I always try to say to people because we think about them passing and greatest show on turf and all that. But in the trenches, nobody ever overpowers Kansas City. Nobody. And they're as good now as they've ever been in both sides there. So I just look at that and go, hey, they'll be okay. And, of course, it's Mahomes and Andy Reid and company and a lot of good players on that football team to where, yeah, playoffs for sure. And then just we'll see after that because the AFC with some of these teams and quarterbacks is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Patrick Mahomes was number 1 in 2020. He was number 1 last year. He is not number 1.
It hurt.
So, you know, again, to me, I feel like Sims has been fair. You know, and he was asked some great questions, kind of the chief skeptics questions, right? And he just pushed right back against them. Like Chris Sims was here, to me, he was here talking just like Chiefs fans do, you know, on Twitter or other social media, having to defend our team. And so, yeah, I felt like Chris Sims was really going to bat and pushing back against some of the popular narratives, the popular anti-Chiefs narratives out there. What did you think, Aaron? And Gooch, if you're able to talk, what did you think?
I think he's doing a pretty good job about that. He's been fair the whole time. I haven't.
Yeah, I don't disagree with most of what he said, except for the fact that Mahomes is number 2.
We're going to get to that here in a second. So, all right.
In 2020.
It hurt my heart. It was like a sad thing to say it, you know, because really even in 2019, I think I made him 2, and I was that year I made Rodgers 1, and I was really like, man, this is freaking close. And it was like I gave Rodgers the edge by a hair. So I mean, we're really like in a year. This is the first time that it's the first time in 3 years, really like 4 years. Even that year, I think I could have made like Rodgers 1 and Mahomes 1A. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. But it's he's freaking awesome. Let's not forget that.
For the first time in a long time, though, Aaron Rodgers is not number 1.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes is not number 1.
That's right.
We have a new king.
We got a new king. Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, John.
All right, guys, I'm going to save you from having to listen to Chris Sims sing that and say that, but I'm going to briefly tell you because it's not. I listened to the whole Josh Allen segment, and it's not worth playing the 10 or 15 minutes or so of Chris Sims talking because it all boils down to one thing that Chris Sims said, and that basically the only reason that Josh Allen is ahead of Mahomes on this list is because he sees Josh Allen as basically being able to do most of the same stuff as Patrick Mahomes, but he says that Josh Allen has less to work with. And so let's talk about that. Josh Allen has less to work with. Now, he was talking about
this season.
He was talking about the offensive side. This last season that, you know, so he's talking about this season predicated on last season of what Josh Allen was doing, and he said that Josh Allen had less to work with. So just to refresh us here a little bit, Josh Allen had Stephon Diggs, he had Gabriel Davis, he had Emmanuel Sanders, and he had Cole Beasley as his 4 receivers, and Dawson Knox as his number 1 tight end there. not to mention his
It's no slouch.
running back duo. So, what do you guys think? I mean, I think, yeah, I'll let you guys go first, and then I'll
Well,
just.
they definitely have a hell of a lot more of a running game, and they actually go with it. I mean, is it really that comparable though? I mean, they can't seem to develop any running backs, but they actually use it more than we do.
One of the things to talk on that, one of the things he did mention was that Josh Allen was basically their running game, and if there was a 3rd and short or a 4th and short, they didn't trust the running back. They had Josh Allen sneaking it.
I would agree with that.
I can see where they're going with that part of it, but I would push back on multiple levels. Like, there's not a huge gap between Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill.
No.
You can argue the gap between Travis and Dawson Knox. You can argue that, and I'll give you that.
But he's probably a top 5 tight end.
Yeah, I mean, he did well in fantasy, as I learned last year. But if you look at the rest of the receivers, though, Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, and Cole Beasley, and you compare McCole Hardman, Byron Pringle.
Sanders, say?
I mean, if you just take those 3, however you want to group them together, of Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, and Cole Beasley, and compare them to McCole Hardman, Byron Pringle, and Demarcus Robinson, I think if you take those 3 collectively, those 2 groups of 3, I think the Bills have the advantage there. Do you disagree with that?
The only one would really be Gabriel Davis that they possibly didn't, but we saw what he did to us.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was at the game where he embarrassed Mike Hughes.
Yes.
Have fun with that, Lions
it
fans.
Was several of them, though.
I mean, Dawson.
It wasn't just Mike Hughes.
Yeah.
Of course, it was Sorensen. I know for sure.
But I don't think that, save for the little bit of difference between Tyreek and Stephon Diggs, and outside of the bigger difference between Travis and Dawson Knox, the rest of those weapons, I think the Bills have the advantage there. So, yeah. I mean, Josh Allen had the tools in place for a more balanced offense. Whether they were able to execute on it or not. But I'm going to take issue and push back with Sims, just looking at it from that perspective. Because I think that some of the knocks that he gave Patrick, what he missed was that Josh Allen had the number 1 defense. So he didn't have the same kind of pressure on him to deliver. So you can talk about him like the offense having to flow through him, but he didn't have the pressure to have the offense flow through him because of how great his defense was. And to me, that's one of the big differences between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes is Patrick had that pressure. Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's something that he didn't say, and I think that's something that is greatly missing and needs to be part of the context between their seasons. One of them had a humongous safety net that he was able to play with on the defensive side. The other one, real or imagined, and we would say for most of the season it was absolutely real, understood that his offense had to be scoring a high volume of possessions because the defense. And hey, listen, I stood up for the defense, in those moments where the offense, kind of had their moments as well. But yeah, I feel like that part is unfair. And if that's his only justification for Josh Allen being ahead of Patrick Mahomes, like, I'm going to agree with everything he said about Patrick Mahomes, but I'm going to disagree with what he said about Josh Allen. and I just gave my reason why.
I'd say that's accurate.
So we were gonna go ahead and look at this top 40 list here, and we were gonna reorder it, but we're kind of getting a little late on time here. I'm not sure what Gooch's situation is here with his availability or yours, Aaron. I know I'm hearing fireworks go off, and your dog is
On my lap.
freaking out a little bit, right? I think everybody's dogs are freaking out a little bit. So
Sasha, I'm surprised, isn't.
why don't we let's just hit the chat for a few, and maybe we'll pick up the top 40 on another live stream. Does that sound good with everybody?
Twice in the last day, our dogs have been outside and somebody's throwing half sticks of dynamite in their backyard. And Sasha was trying to climb in through the door. And she's old. Please be respectful of other people's pets this time of year.
Yeah, there's some I don't know. This microphone is really sensitive. I don't know if you guys can pick up the loud booming going on outside here or not.
I'm not, but I've got it going here too, so. And it's like a war zone around here, but you could throw it elsewhere or choose your timing.
Yeah, so as I put the context of his rankings up before we started the video, so you didn't see that, Aaron, but I did send it to you earlier. So again, the rankings came down to like who
I did look at that a little bit.
Who Chris Sims thought, who he trusted more right now with a generic lineup. So if we look at it from that perspective, does that change your opinion at all? Do you think that Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen with the same lineup, that Josh Allen would be better?
No.
Yeah.
No. It comes back to accuracy for me.
I think accuracy, like we said, the throwing platform, and outside of those couple of moments where Patrick, did absolutely press and make some really cringy throws. There's 2 or 3 of those, right? I think the perfect example, and I will argue Bills fans all day long, I think the perfect example is that matchup game. One guy was going against the number 1 defense. One guy was going up against a very laughable defense who in some ways was getting much better as the season went on, but who still had Daniel Sorensen, Ben Neiman, and Mike Hughes playing. So, come on. And I'll say this all day long. Let Patrick Mahomes go against his 2021 defense and let Josh Allen go against his 2021 defense in a game, and let the two play each other, and then see if it even comes down to 13 seconds or overtime.
Right. The only thing Allen can do better is run.
Right, and part of that's because he has, well, I don't say part of it. All of it is because he has more speed than Patrick Mahomes. It's not like Patrick is a bad runner. He takes great angles. He's even better, in my opinion, like he has some better running moves, right? He can fake defenders out who are clearly faster than him. He can make them look silly. And it's just a matter of the speed difference. I think Josh Allen is like, what, a 4.5 something 40 guy? And Patrick Mahomes was like a 4.8, 4.82, 4.85 40, something like that. And that's a big difference. And that's really the edge that Josh Allen has as a runner, because I think as far as moves and angles and understanding all of that stuff, I have to give Patrick the leg up on that.
Way more willing to let him run. We're not really willing to let Mahomes run, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, some of that is justified, just because of the hit in the Browns game and some of that. So.
In the Denver game, where his knee popped out.
Yeah. All right, I have no idea where we're at with the chat, Aaron, so I'm going to let you take control of that because you put that up and I have no idea where we're at, so I don't want to skip around and mess you up.
Okay, well, that is up a ways, actually. But it's just a great point that ADG brought up, and Matt agreed.
Hey, let's hit this comment here from Anthony that I have on my screen. Looks like it's a brand new comment. Anthony, welcome in. Man, that is... See, this is my friend right here. He said, Allen's best year is still not better than Mahomes' worst year.
No. Very good point.
Very true. And I think, personally, we're going to see... I think that at the end of this season, and I can be wrong, but I think at the end of the season, Allen at number 1 and Mahomes at number 2 is going to look really foolish. Because I think, and I know that Chris Sims mentions this, in the rankings,
drop off.
That with Brian Daboll now the head coach of the New York Giants, I think we're going to see another drop off from Allen. And I think with Tyreek gone and our offense, changing, I think we're going to see Mahomes go back up more. So I think by the end of the season that there's going to be a bigger gap between these two quarterbacks than what people think, at least in my opinion.
Welcome in, Anthony.
This isn't a question, but I would think, I'm going to throw this out, and Gooch, if you're listening, you can answer, and guys and ladies in the chat, you can answer too. What quarterback do you think? Because I think we'll all assume that Patrick is going to be number 1. What quarterback do you think is going to be the closest to him at the end of the season? I think Gooch would probably say Aaron Rodgers, but I think I'm going to go Justin Herbert. What do you think, Aaron? What do you guys think in the chat?
I feel like I should come up with a different one then.
You can agree with somebody. It doesn't matter.
No.
This is the state of our country.
That.
We're not allowed to agree on anything.
I'm not playing that. So, well, Aaron agreed with me, so I'm right.
Yeah, if you agree with me, I'm going to throw that in Gooch's face because I know you'd say Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers isn't even in the top 4 on Chris Sims' list, so...
Tyrod Taylor.
Sneaky, this is an awesome point.
I forgot about Tua. I am definitely never going Brady. I can tell you that right now.
It could be Tua, because based off of the NFL Network guy that we laughed at the other night, adding Tua or adding Tyreek Hill to Tua would make him a better quarterback. Remember that junk? Derek Carr was already a good quarterback. Adding Devontae Adams is going to make him an elite quarterback. No, that's not how it works, man. You're still the same quarterback you are. It might make him have elite stats, but it's not going to it's not a magic pill that he can just pop and all of a sudden he has extra talent that he never had before.
I may surprise everybody. I'm going to go with Stafford.
Okay. I wouldn't push back against that as much as Gooch would because we both know that Gooch has a fairly low.
I walked in on that harebrained answer.
Brilliant answer.
There's nothing brilliant about what you just said.
I don't hate him.
You're gonna make me get on a plane, come to you, and just smack you and come back to work.
Keep going, Aaron, because I'd love to see that. Can we get that on tape? Anyway, Sneaky has a comment here, and this is generally the way that I've thought too, right? Do you guys ever think this way, that this is how it should be, that when you get to practice against a better defense? But, you could argue the inverse of that too. You would think defenses would be better, like our defense would be better, or our offense would get worse having to practice against an inferior defense. Sorry, that's the inverse of that. But yeah, he says, you'd think we'd have a better defense just based on practicing against our offense. Like you hear clips about defenders, their first practice against Patrick Mahomes and their first exposure to a no-look pass. So like you think that our defenders would be more capable of doing things just from having to defend Tyreek, having to defend Travis, having to defend all the things that Pat can do. Do you guys ever feel the same way, or is it just Sneaky and I?
No, I think that's how it should be.
It just doesn't seem like it is, though, right?
Well, you can with our defense, you can polish a turd, but at the end of the day,
yeah, I'm gonna throw this one up from Maui.
It's still Dan Sorensen.
I'm gonna throw this one up.
Get the other guy
for Maui, just because I know it can get Gooch going here. Maui says, "Give Allen Orlando Brown Jr. and see what happens." Gooch, are you at work, Gooch?
I am.
Can you not afford to cuss right now?
I cannot.
All right, Maui, give me some more ammo, buddy. I used to do this to my wife when she was in college back in the day when there was such a thing as MSN Messenger. For those of you who are old enough but still young enough to have used social media back then, and she would be in class and I would be like typing things to make her laugh, and then she would get in trouble because she'd be laughing out loud in class. But this is just as fun to try to get Gooch to scream at us while he's at work in front of coworkers and customers.
Get in trouble by who?
What do you mean by who? Her teachers. She'd be sitting in class in college listening to a lecture.
Okay. I thought you were talking about while she was teaching.
No.
I was like, she yelled at herself?
Well, no, in college while she was sitting in class on
I mean, I yell at myself, but I know I'm crazy.
Yeah, I can see both of those.
You want to say it?
What I would say is I kind of wonder though, when Lamar was gone, we didn't see a whole lot of drop off. Like there wasn't a huge level of drop off going from Lamar to Hundley, and I've said this in other ways. Big Chief just joined right for this question, and Big Chief and Gooch and I, we just talked about this on the Dan Show Friday night, and I put that in the link here at the very beginning of the chat.
I say we go back to the quarterback question as well, though.
Gentlemen,
hey, Big Chief.
How are you doing this lovely Independence weekend?
A lot better now that you're here.
Thank you.
Did you guys hear that one?
Yeah, I heard that one.
Yeah.
That was probably a half stick. It's okay, lady. Yeah,
What quarterback question was that, Aaron?
She's trying to jump out of her skin.
Poor baby.
The one who's going to be the closest as the number 2 quarterback in the league to Mahomes. Lay down.
Yeah, Sean, what do you think? So we all assume, or I assume, that everybody's picking Mahomes to be the top quarterback at the end of the season, but what quarterback do you think is going to end up number 2?
Number 2. That's That's a good question. There's a lot of good candidates for number two. I mean, shout out to Patrick Mahomes even earning number one without even trying. And that's an impressive move on itself. I mean, especially in the world of football, you could be a little arrogant and give somebody a title they don't deserve. So for him to be that good, that says something. But me, the number two quarterback, hmm, that's a good question. And I'm gonna go outside the box because I go outside the box. I think he has a lot to prove. He has the weapons to do it. Kyler Murray, he's gonna be two or three. It's weird.
Ooh,
He has the tools
I like that answer.
as Winston from the Ghostbusters greatly said. He has the tools. He has the talent, and it's not much talent. It's not great, but the weapons that he has makes up for that. I believe so. So yeah.
okay. Angry and Maui, I see you guys going back and forth there. That's some good stuff. I'm not going to put it up here, but all right, what's Sneaky say there? Yeah, don't get Sean going on this one between Frank and Chris.
What's
But
going on, man? Oh my God! Please don't tell me it's a Lamar Jackson issue again. Uh,
Chris Jones and Frank.
no, Sneaky says I really believe a more competent front four in the past would have made the difference in how we perceive the defense versus now.
Yeah, quite possibly.
so he's saying like we don't have a good defensive line now, or
No,
he's
no,
like,
no, no. He's saying in the past,
right?
we didn't have a great defensive line,
You're all
and
right.
that
So
would have made a difference in how we looked at the defense versus now.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, yeah, we had all the weapons like Eric Berry and Derek Johnson and Tomba and Houston, but I mean, who did we have on the line at those
Yeah.
days? Bailey, like we had Poe for a couple of good years, but you know, one man don't make a whole show.
Yeah, we had an okay defensive line back when we had Emmanuel Ogba with
Yeah,
Jones.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna push back on this a little bit, Sneaky, and say if we didn't have Sorensen and Neiman, or at least if Spags didn't use them in the way that he used them. So if he wanted to use somebody that way, he had better players to use them that way. That alone would have changed how we perceived this defense. And even Tyrann Mathieu, I don't know how honest he was being or not, because it seemed like he threw a lot of excuses out. But Tyrann Mathieu said at the end of the season, of course, to a fan on social media, stop me if you've heard this before, but he said that Spags changed the way that he was using him, and Spags put him away from the ball. Like he started using him, putting Tyrann away from the ball to where he didn't have a chance to make plays. And so, like, if that's the case, we saw how he used Sorensen and Neiman. There was a good deal of misuse.
Yeah.
So I think just that would have changed how we viewed the defense. If Breland hadn't went to the Vikings and he, kind of stayed at that same level, maybe that would have changed some of it too. Because I liked Hughes as a punt returner and kick returner, but man, he got embarrassed when we had to line him up at cornerback.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, to an extent, we all have to admit, or at least I believe, I think Spags might be on the hot seat this season if that defense don't work out.
I already said that.
Because this is the fourth season he's had at least middle of the road, if not the lowest tier defense in the league. Like this is a consistent thing. Like you have all this talent. Even when we won in 2019, our defense was 15th at best. Like, and that was just because we went on that run between week 11 on to the very end, and Mahomes and the offense was on a hot streak. No way, it didn't really matter. We outscored
Lay
teams
down.
like ridiculously. But when it comes to Spags, I mean, it's hard to question him because sometimes he has a good plan, but most times, I mean, me personally, I know Reed. I know he's not the type to fire somebody. He will let you punch him and then just wonder why your fist hurt. You know what I mean? That's the kind of dude Reed is. But I do believe Spags may be on the hot seat if that defense don't get it together this season. I have a good feeling for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, I think the biggest thing against Spags is that it's not like, you could think, okay, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
So the Chiefs spent a majority of their cap on the offensive side, because that wasn't true. This is the first year that'll be the case. When Spags has been here, the cap spending has been more on defense than on the offense. So that should tell you something. So we really needed to take advantage of that in Mahomes' cheap years, because we were spending more on defense than on the offense.
Way more on the defensive line than
and we weren't getting the
Exactly.
results. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That was like what, 55, 60 million a year between Jones and Clark, and you add Matthew in there, and right there was like what? That was about 80 million between those three or more. You add in Hitchens, and that's at least another 10 to 15. So those four players was close to 100 million a year.
Yeah. And make it so worse, this year in the draft, we basically went defensive too. I mean, we got Leo, Karvlatis, McDuffie. I mean, we really went hard on the draft for defense.
I hope that means, though, that, adding in that cheap talent, that then they'll supplement where they have to, where guys that they drafted fall short, that they'll go out and attack those positions in free agency next year, because that's kind of like what they did with the offense.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just, I just have this eerie feeling that it's just, Spags is very stubborn, and I get why sometimes. Sometimes his defense just takes a little while to get going, but then other times he doesn't see the forest from the trees and he just keeps rolling with it. That's what makes me worry about the defense. You have all this talent, so there's no reason why the defense shouldn't be top 10 by the end of the year. If you've been here long enough to where you have a game plan and a defensive game plan at that. So if this should really translate to top 10 defense this year, especially with the offense that you're messing with that can give you the opportunities to wear down defenses on other teams. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wish we could bring pressure all the time. Almost over $200 million, and we can't bring no pressure at any of the time. That's just mind blowing to me. And that's why people get mad at me about my takes on Chris Jones on my channel. I argue with a few people, because people don't like my takes on Chris Jones, but he is overrated. I'm sorry.
I thought she had something she wanted.
That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. I know I'm in a big minority on that. I know I am, but I'm sticking to my guns. He's not worth 100 million. He never was to me. 75, 80. We could talk. That would be more fair to me. But this, how much cap he done sucked up for the possibility of talent we could have had on this team, and for the little production that he gives when it matters. Now people go say he's dope in the season. Congratulations, he is dope in the season. But for a man who's worth $100 million, who has a Super Bowl ring but not one sack in the playoff game, that bothers me. I'm just saying.
I think it's fair
weird.
to question, how he takes plays off sometimes. I think some of it though comes from just how good Aaron Donald is, and I think some of that is on Spags, and just because Chris Jones gets doubled a lot. It's like you want to. If you're an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, you should be scheming to take away another team's best player, which oftentimes means their most expensive paid player, right? Like if you're a defensive coordinator, you want the Chiefs to have Patrick Mahomes making $40 or $50 million, and you want them to have to play offense to where they hand the ball off, right? To take the ball out of his hands as much as possible. And I feel like that's what defense or offenses have done with Chris Jones, simply because of the lack of talent around him, and because our defensive staff does not have the ingenuity, the creativity, the ability to scheme pressure. This is something that Brian Flores, who I think should still be an NFL head coach, was great at. And his defensive coordinator in Miami was great at. These guys were able to scheme pressure with a bunch of duds. And that's something that we've been missing on this defense. It's something we saw New England do. And Daly wasn't able to replicate what he did in New England. And I think it's a little fishy that they say that he wanted a new challenge, and he admits that he got a little complacent, going through the motions as the defensive line coach. So I'm interested to see what happens when you bring in a Joe Cullen, who seems to be kind of a fiery guy and setting big expectations on the defensive line. If we don't get creative with defensive line moves, we don't take advantage of the fact that Chris Jones is getting double teamed as often as he is. To me, that's on the coaching staff a lot of the times. And so I can understand where he gets worn down, kind of like Travis on the offensive side, because Jones is taking double teams a lot of the times. He doesn't have anyone else on the defensive line to command a double team. And I think it's ridiculous that the coaching staff has not found a way, to set Chris Jones free.
I want to see it. I don't know. That's from the when he's 1-on-1, he's still not a threat though. I get he gets doubled, but everybody on the defensive line gets kind of doubled. I mean, except for Frank, because Frank is not great. Yeah, he can get sacks in the playoffs, which is obviously odd in itself. But with Chris, I don't know. I just don't see the effort in him. Like, he likes showing these videos of him doing weights or whatever the hell he's doing, like what Frank is doing. Look at me, I'm doing it. But are you really doing it? Like, I don't know. It's been this long and he's still number 2. But for the effort that he puts in, he should be better, right? Because Donald gets doubled, but you don't hear him crying about it. He gets doubled all the time. It never stops him. But it stops Chris Jones, though. You're worth too much to have other factors be the reason why you're not great. You know what I mean? Like this year, I'm giving props to Von Miller because the dude works hard, but if this season he comes out trash, that's clearly on him, regardless of what's doing on the team. They paid you $150 million. You have no excuses. Once you get paid that certain amount of money, you don't produce the product of what you're supposed to be selling, you lose me. You know what I mean? Like, that's why everybody's giving up 100% on Frank, regardless of what he does in the playoffs, whatever. Frank don't hustle, but now he wants to show videos of him hustling, and I'm supposed to believe that. I'm not easily swayed. I'm not that type. Just like with Tyreek, I knew the whole him, whatever he was doing, that's all an act. I know that stuff. But when you see Patrick Mahomes and him training, that's him actually doing that because he does it at home. They catching him at home, sitting there looking at blueprint and tape. While one season you see in Chris Jones playing with Le'Veon Bell. Like, well, which Chris Jones are you? That's what I'm saying. Like, I get everybody defending Chris Jones because he's a nice person. We do that for a fan base that we are because we're the greatest fan base out here. We have the most love for players than anybody out here. It doesn't matter how bad or how crappy that person is. Hell, we used to love Eric Warfield. He had a drinking problem. That don't settle me. What settled me is great play. That's why Tamba Ali was like the precipice of my channel, because he gritted every day he was on that field. He wasn't the best linebacker, no, but he was one of the top ones, and a lot of top ones respected his game. That's all I want Chris Jones to be. But somehow every year we talk about Chris Jones like he's one of the best, but somehow he never ends up in that point. But him and Donald are around the same age, so I don't know what's going on here. I mean, grow some muscle, do something different, have a different technique, have a different attitude besides playing all the time. Maybe you'll come out on that top tier. That's just, I'm telling you, it's just me. I'm not hating on him as a person. I'm just saying $100 million, you want people to respect your game, but yet you can't get on the top of your game. Like, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not hating on him like as a person. I'm just saying that's a lot of money. Like, we give Frank crap for not producing, but when Chris don't produce, we all quiet. It's weird to me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I would probably be where you're at if Chris Jones comes out and he says he wants Aaron Donald money at the end of the season. Like, you know, I I think I'd be completely there with you. Kind of like how we are with Orlando Brown Jr. and
Yeah.
his supposed contract demands. But
That's-
I just think that some of it is because Aaron Donald is so great. I don't, I've heard a lot of people say it, whether it's Ryan or whoever else, even I think maybe even Gooch. Aaron Donald may be the greatest defensive player of all time. It'd be like
He's up-
if
he's up there. He's up there for sure. Because I mean, it's him, Dion. Greatest defensive
What?
player. I mean, you have to put LT in there, maybe.
right. Yeah, and for the sake of argument, if we just said the greatest defensive tackle, right,
it'd
defensive
be
line,
him.
if
He
we
would
went
be him.
defensive lineman, and
It'd be
so it's kind of like knocking Kobe or LeBron because they're not Michael Jordan, right? I mean, it's insane. Like Michael Jordan is such a once in a lifetime player, and so like I don't care, I don't care who you are. You could practice every day, you could work out all you wanted. You're never going to get to the point where you're as good as Michael Jordan.
Kobe tried though.
And Von Miller tried to be as good as Derek Thomas, but you're never going to get to that point because
Well,
Derek
technically,
Thomas
I mean-
and Lawrence Taylor were that good.
Yeah, they were. I mean, Vaughn is good. Don't knock me. Anybody who is a fan of him, Vaughn is good. He's
Knock him. No, okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
he's good though. I'm never gonna knock Von Miller. He has a talent. He's a talent. He's a talent because wherever he goes, success follows him. You know what I mean? But is he like LT? Is he LT Derek Thomas level? He's more of a disruptor than a destroyer. You know what I mean? Like LT and Thomas were destroyers of offenses. They made sure the second they hiked, the play was busted. Where Von Miller usually he disrupts things. Like there's the run game, stop that runner or hold him down. You know what I mean? Like that consistency he brings and leadership he brings is something to be revered. You know what I mean? I just respect this game. Like me, everybody knows I'm a defensive hearted man, and Vaughn is good, but I don't think he's LT DT level. Not like that. I mean, yeah, he got the rings over him, but not like no.
Right.
I can't.
Gooch,
I can't.
Gooch, are you able to jump into this conversation at all? Gooch is at work and he's still like trying to listen and be a part of this.
That's Gooch.
He's
for
such
you,
an
man.
awesome, right? I don't
That's
know if he's
Gooch.
able to or not because
I don't care. His box is there in spirit, man. We got the box. That's good for me.
I'll use his wording then. I was getting ready to have some snot bubbles going. Keep yawning.
Look, see, that's what I'm saying. Everybody else agrees, man. Like it's Chris Jones. This has to be Chris Jones' breakout year. He's not even 30 yet. He needs to show that, okay, everybody who loves me, this is why you love me. Because Mahomes already proved that. Kelsey already proved that. We could talk all how much they're getting paid, but they're consistent. Kelsey could retire right now and go Hall of Fame. No question. You know what I'm saying? We all know this. And Mahomes worth $500 million, but we know why. We don't question why. We got a defensive line almost worth $300 million. We don't know why. That's an issue for me. Like, I get we need corners and we need safeties now more than ever, but that defensive line, if you can't attack, if you can't be aggressive in defense, what's the point?
right.
You just playing off, and that you lose every game, or you're going to lose important games doing that. Like Tampa Bay knew to be aggressive. They knew, hell, no, screw Mahomes. This ain't about him. This is about us, and they attacked. Like that's how we beat the 49ers. We attacked.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's why a lot of Chiefs fans really wanted to see Rex Ryan replace Spags this offseason. They were wanting that aggressiveness.
Where's Rex Ryan at now? Like, Do we?
Man, I think he's just at home, like
Commentator.
on eBay buying pictures of feet or something.
Oh hell!
Isn't he the one that had the foot fetish? Was
Holy
that Rex
crap!
Ryan?
Is that Rex Ryan?
I think that was
I'm
Rex
not.
Ryan.
I'm not even sure. Well, there's a lot of feet down here in Kansas City. I trust you. A lot of. I mean, they're at trailer parks, but it still counts. I feel like it's still the same. I mean,
But I mean,
he won't notice.
I know some people, I mean, you could make the argument that Rex Ryan's personality wouldn't go well with Andy and Pat, but what about like Wink Martindale? I mean, he was aggressive with the Ravens. He was I believe he was the linebackers coach under one of Rex Ryan or Rob Ryan or whatever when they were with the Ravens. So, I mean, he had some aggressiveness to him, but yeah, I agree with you. There, having an attacking defense is what is exciting. Playing the Romeo Crennel, bend but don't break defense, like it's absolutely frustrating. And with this offense, you shouldn't ever have to play that way, right? Both sides should be good enough and feed off of each other to where you can just utterly, dominate teams on both sides because you can get a big lead and you can blitz the hell out of them.
Yeah. I totally agree, man. This defense. I mean, but obviously, hopefully, with this DJ, because I articulate so well, y'all. But hopefully, this defense, these new defensive pickups that we got, like you said, these cheap boys that we got, just set the tone. Especially for Leo Chanel, I'm really looking at him. I mean, obviously, I'm looking at Carlotis because I always look at players like that of that nature, but Leo Chanel is going to set the tone because with Gay and Bolton, if Leo's everything that he's supposed to be cracked up to be, we could be looking at a brand new dynamic in our defense, finally having a linebacking core that can stop the run game, stop that short tight end game that most teams use against us.
Yeah.
Sneaky says he would have taken Vic Fangio over Rex Ryan.
Yeah, well, yeah, because our defense was as soft as Twinkie film last year.
Oh my goodness,
I'm
man!
I'm just saying. Again, everybody we drafted, good character, tough kid, willing tackler, aggressive. The complete opposite of probably half of our defense last year.
Yeah.
And they're too young to know about business decisions because they're getting their first contract. You know what I'm saying? So let them have at it. Release the hounds.
Hopefully they ready to bite.
I don't know what that one was.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about is Spags on the hot seat, and I think even more so than Andy, I think that comes from Clark Hunt. And I've talked about this before. I think Clark is the perfect balance of hands-on and hands-off. Like he's not a completely passive, owner and name only type of guy who doesn't care about wins, but he's also not Jerry Jones, making himself the GM and dictating every player personnel decision. To me, he's like the perfect balance in there. But I do believe because he's paying Patrick Mahomes $500 million that, he is in Andy's ear at times. And there is some pressure even on Andy coming from Clark that, hey, you got to hold your coaches accountable too, because if you don't, you can't hold your players accountable.
Right.
And so I'm with you guys. I really wonder, if Spags doesn't have a huge spotlight on him this season. And, we've thrown out some names here like Rex Ryan and Vic Fangio. And I mentioned Flores, who took an assistant position with the Steelers. And I don't know if he would be interested in coming, to be a defensive coordinator next year or not. And of course, we'll root for him to get a head coaching job. But if he doesn't, that's somebody I'd love to have because he's a very creative, defensive-minded head coach. Or, in our case, he'd be defensive coordinator. So
I thought Staley had more reason to get fired than he did, but that's me, I guess.
what do you think, Gooch? I keep throwing it back to Gooch. I don't even know if he can talk.
I can. I think
We know you
that
can.
quietly, I just kept. Please don't make me choke you to death. I think as quietly as kept. Spags was on the hot seat last year at the end, and I don't think that it needs to come from Clark because, like I said, Andy fired the defensive coordinator in Philly who had finally worn out his welcome, and he was one of Andy's guys. And I think they're changing stuff around, not because Brendan Daly sucks at coaching a defensive line, because he did more with less in New England than he's doing with these, outside of Chris Jones, so-called studs on our defensive line. I think this is a move. Excuse me. I think this is a move and rotation of positions based on what Spags is doing overall as a defensive coordinator. And I think at the end of it, when you look at these young stud coaches, and they're all really good, you know what I'm saying? Eventually you have to look at who's preparing the meal. You know what I'm saying? If the steak is great but the pasta is raw, you look at that one guy. But if the whole meal should be coming out great because it's cooked by experts and the head chef is sending it out and it's terrible, you eventually got to look at that guy and be like, you're the problem. And I personally think that if we get off to a rough defensive start and halfway through the season you don't see any turnaround, I look for a change mid-season.
You think that they would make one mid-season?
Clark Hunt every year, I don't know if you've noticed, since we got close the very first year and overtime with New England, has been preaching Super Bowl at his introductory meeting. And you're not going to embarrass Clark when he's paying almost $500 million to a quarterback that is still in his prime, and you're expected to compete for championships every year. Let this team get close to not making the playoffs. Sweet Jesus, there will be some smoke in the city.
Yeah, I could see that in one sense, because there was somebody in the RGR chat last year, I believe, who after the rough start had said that somebody from public relations or something from the Chiefs was calling all the season ticket holders, to survey, to ask them if the slow start was affecting their desire or their push to re-up their season tickets. And so
I got that phone call and I answered it.
Yeah, so clearly there was some sensitivity, on Clark Hunt's front office towards that slow start. So, in that sense, I could believe that. It just, man, I would think that would definitely come from Clark, because I don't see Andy being able to make that decision simply because, like, you're almost putting a nail in a coffin if you fire a defensive coordinator mid-season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What you have to look at in that instance, and I'm gonna follow off on Scott here. And Bob Sutton was fired after the season. Think about what could have happened if we had fired him midseason.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? If the turnaround would have started after the bye week. See, if it doesn't work, you got to the bye week, you fire him on the bye week so the next defensive coordinator can come in, have a week to prepare and kind of install stuff. Maybe get the best out of these talents. I mean, I was for firing him last year when he wasn't playing Juan and he was bringing Bolton off the field 60% of the time. And I mean, like these are, but putting Sorensen in and Neiman, I'm not going to knock Neiman. Neiman is good at what he does. You want him to tackle, attack the quarterback, kind of play the middle zone. He was good at that. But you're asking him to cover speedy slot receivers and stuff. These are all bad decisions from the defensive coordinator who was stubborn and didn't want to put the athletic guys in, and it hurt us the first 7 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, where everybody was putting the blame on, or not blame, but like, these defensives have figured out how to slow down Mahomes. No, because if our defense would have held any team to 27 or less, we're 40-2. That's 4-0-2. That's not Mahomes being bottled up. That's a defense giving up historically bad numbers of points and yards per game because our defensive coordinator thinks it's 1995 and he's got that stud line that had O.C. Umanura and what's the gap guy do with the gap in his teeth so far? You can stick a sign on it that says next tooth a mile that way. You know what I'm talking about? He's on the Regis show. What the heck is his name?
Michael Strahan.
Michael Strahan.
I feel like we're playing Pictionary now, or charades.
I couldn't get it for the life of me. He doesn't have that line. Quarterbacks don't play that way, and I don't think he's adapted. And I think this year, if he doesn't, we're going to be hurting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, because right now I know cap hasn't happened or anything like that, but this would be that time to have the defense step up this year. Spags is such an enigma. It's
what would tickle me, Big Chief? You know what would tickle me is if game one, I looked at the defensive backfield and I saw Juan, Reed, and Brian Cooks, McDuffie and Sneed, Bolton, Gay, and Chenal, Karlaftis, Frank, Chris Jones, and Kangdo.
Really?
Why not? You drafted Kangdo because he has raw potential. Me and Keys argued about this when he was drafted. And he's got this potential and he needed to learn the playbook. He's had a year. And he's got
argue.
What?
You guys don't argue.
Are you kidding? Go back and watch the Orlando Brown stuff.
Oh man. That was man. That
So, Angry Drunken German threw this out. He said, I don't agree with firing midseason unless the next guy is being promoted from within. If you agree with that, well, regardless of whether you agree or not, let's just answer this. Do we feel comfortable with anybody on Spags' staff to get a promotion to that position?
I do. Brendan Daly.
You trust him?
I think he's the only one I would. I understand the specter around Bill Belichick assistants, but Bill Belichick doesn't surround himself with stupid people. He just doesn't. So I think if you gave that kid the reins, I think he's smart enough to figure it out. I think doing the line if you work for Bill Belichick, if you notice, everybody does that menial job, and no one ever gets the really coordinator title. But eventually, they work themselves up to where they're calling the defensive plays. And I think that same thing would have happened. Bill Belichick didn't hire stupid.
Well, I'm not gonna argue that he doesn't hire stupid, but Daly was the defensive line coach in New England. Then he came here, and his defensive line play wasn't even close to what it was in New England. But and I understand his wife's family is from the Kansas City area or whatever. But it doesn't seem like Bill Belichick made a move to like promote him or move him up the ladder or to throw some extra money at him. I don't even know if Belichick was mad that he left, and I would kind of hope that he would be.
Here's the thing: like, how many years did he do the D line in New England? Before we make that assumption, and then secondly, like, maybe it's not the fact that he didn't do much with our defensive line. Maybe it's the fact that as Chiefs fans, we don't realize that our defensive line was turd buckets. You know what I'm saying?
But
I mean, if you look at it, nobody stood out. Yeah, people made flash plays. I don't want you to flash in the NFL. I want you to flash in college. I want you to produce in the NFL. And we didn't have anybody that could really do that consistently outside of Jones pushing in the pocket. I mean, we didn't have any names where, hey, name some people off the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Bolton because of what he did to Henry and Matthew. That's what you would name. You wouldn't name a single other person.
Right.
I guess I would counter one with, again, the Dolphins did more with lesser talent, right, than what Daly has done in Kansas City with more talent. And it's kind of hard to argue against that, especially if we're going to make the argument, and I know Sean will back me up on this, but if we're going to make the argument that Chris Jones is the number 2 defensive tackle in the NFL, Miami didn't have anything close to the number 2 defensive tackle in the NFL, and they were still able to scheme pressure. And, sure, maybe that's more on Spags than Daly. That could be a fair argument. But to go back to answer your question here, Daly was assistant defensive line coach for the Vikings from 2006 to 2008. He was the defensive line coach from the Rams for 2009 to 2011. Then he went back to Minnesota as the defensive line coach for 2012 to 13. Then he joined the Patriots in 2014 as a defensive assistant, and he was the defensive line coach from 2015 to 2018. So he has a lot of experience as a defensive line coach, and he spent from 2014 to 2018 in New England.
With what, 3 or 4 Super Bowl rings? With no-name defensive players? Because we're not talking about Dante Hightower or Chandler Jones. Those are linebackers. And are we really saying that Miami had less talent than we did on the defensive line?
1,000%.
On top of that, even if that's the case, they schemed themselves open because their defensive coordinator, who was this the Brian Flores team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brian Flores schemed, who is a defensive coach like Belichick, schemed his players. That's Spags' job, not Brendan Daly's.
But Daly had
Brendan
a hand in
Daly,
that New England.
His job is to, but he's not going to do that here. He works for Spags. So his job is to teach our linemen what Spags wants on every single play and to try and get the best out of them. Now, Colin Saunders can't stay healthy.
Which is a damn shame, if I may say so. I wish he could, man. He has so much potential to be
Kendo
such a badass.
Kendo has so much potential, but only has or they didn't trust him. The guy that Aaron likes, flashes. Tim Ward, is that his name? Ward?
Yeah.
Flashes. He's not consistent. That's not Daly. That's talent.
Tim Ward is with the Jets, and he had a pretty good season last year. So I'm not
And I
sure
would,
why we're bringing
and
up Tim Ward.
and even if we had 1,000% better defensive linemen than Miami, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I don't give a damn who you are at that point.
Right.
Now I'm gonna push back on you talking about daily Super Bowl rings because Spags has what 2 or 3, and nobody would even put him in the top half of defensive coordinators in the NFL.
Oh, no way.
Spags only got that job because Andy is his friend. Because nobody was going to touch Spags after that debacle in St. Louis as the head coach.
Oh, man. That is so true.
I mean, they were talking
That is
about
so
bringing
true.
back. They were talking. There was coach openings. You never heard Spags' name, but they were thinking about bringing back Jeff Fisher.
Damn. It's like Spags or Jeff. What's Jeff's number these days?
Jeff
You know-
Fisher even said it. He was like, "I get phone calls almost every year asking if I come back to coach."
Wow. That's insane. He was terrible.
Yeah.
He was terrible.
Okay, I have to listen for a while, guys. So keep going. I'll be listening.
All right. Yeah, that was whew, Jeff Fisher, man. You went down a really dark rabbit hole with that name. That dude was whew.
So let me ask you guys, since we're talking about this, like, what would be your biggest warning signs to see out of this defense, like the first half, like up to the bye week? Like, what would be your biggest warning signs? Like, if the rookies aren't playing, but you know some of the veterans that they picked up, like Jermaine Carter and Bush and Taylor Stallworth or whatever. If like these more veteran players are playing and our rookies aren't playing, would that be one of those signs for you? Like, what would be the
That
signs
would
to you?
mean Spags is not allowing them to. Just like he's playing Sorensen and Neiman over guys he should have been.
Right. I think the worst thing to me is the same thing it was last year. Teams averaging almost 7 yards a carry. That's a problem. It still is. They still haven't fixed it, regardless of all the acquisitions. We still haven't fixed that problem. That's the
Still
issue.
can't get off the field on third down.
Exactly. Maybe that's the worst one. All this effort for first and second down just to them to do something ridiculous to let them back in the games.
And it's third and long, yeah.
No excuse for it, really.
Over
be totally
and
honest
over
with
and
you.
over.
It's let me see what else. What else could be a really, really bad sign? No sacks. What week did you say?
Yeah, by the bye week. So that's like
Yeah, if we can't get here, we have to reach an honest goal. And when is our bye week this year?
It's like what week?
8.
Oh, it's not that early, is it?
Yeah.
Is it 8? Well, okay, in 8 weeks, let's say that's a lot. That's a good amount of time. Hell, 8 sacks. Let's even say that. Let's be fair. At least a sack a game, something like that.
If it's
you
less
can't
than
get
15, I'm going to be upset.
I mean, I want to say a big number like that, but maybe that's pushing hard for them. I just want to see pressure. It's better than none at all, and I'm not expecting them to be, Shaq Barrett and Dominic Sue and a whole real defensive line working together. But if you can't produce a sack a game at this point, with the people we got, the people we paid, and the draft picks we made, we are in a serious issue of trouble. Because how are we going to take on the Allens and the Morrows and the Bradys and the Rodgers, even if we can't get on pressure?
Should we have a backup as interceptions? or pass breakups?
I would, pass breakups a little bit more than interceptions. I mean, interceptions are great; they're always great, but just to deny the player altogether, that's always good for me.
All right, we got a dare here by KL368 to list every defensive lineman on our team right now. Does that include some of like the guys that Spags, or sorry, not Spags, that Veach signed to get us up to 90? Some of like the scrub guys there who are there just to push our low level guys to compete.
Bodies.
Because I don't know if I could do camp bodies, but I mean, we have Chris Jones, we have Frank Clark, we have George Karloftis, we have Mike Dana, we have Joshua Kando, we have did I say Derek Nottie? We have Colin Saunders, we have Taylor Stallworth. That's about where I'm stalling out.
And
I don't. How many was that? I wasn't counting.
Herring.
368. Yeah, Malik Herring. Yeah, he was the one I was thinking of that was kind of right there, iffy. Let's see.
You didn't say Saunders.
Yeah, I did.
they did.
Yeah, I got Saunders. So let's see, how many was that? Karloftis, Jones, Clark,
That's at least
Kando,
6. You said that,
Dana, Noddy, Saunders, Taylor Stallworth,
Oh,
and Malik
snap.
Herring.
Is Keys' new nickname the Librarian? Oh, man.
that might just stick.
Hey, I said this in the chat, Scott. Like, you know, we're not putting on a show, so like, if you see me pissed off, I'm really pissed off. You know, I'm not trying to entertain someone. It just happens. So, and I think we all have our moments. Sean and Gooch saw Friday night. You know, we all know some of our trigger players and words to say to get each other going. But
That we
yeah,
do.
and I do want to say I was trying to get Gooch going when he had an audience there at work, but he wasn't taking the bait. So
He's like, not this time, buddy. Not this time. Oh. But yeah, with all the names that you
There
said,
are certain cities and states that I have to be well behaved. So even though I'm not cussing where you can hear me, there are a lot of times that I walk outside on mute.
I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt that at all.
that's fair, 368. I don't think any of us feel completely confident with the defensive line right now.
No.
And, you know, I think I would have felt better had Ingram came back, just because the spark that he seemed to bring to the defense last year. But at the same time, you know, at this point, it doesn't seem like Ingram wanted to have anything to do with our team. And, you know, I think Gooch said it before, like, he got traded here last year, and we don't know how, you know, like, playing all those years, playing his whole career up until last season with the Chargers, you know, I think Gooch suggested may have really made him hate the Chiefs. And I can understand that, and I wish, you know, we had players in the past that felt that same way towards other AFC West foes, you know, like Neil Smith. But at the same time, you know, we had Marcus Allen here. So, I mean, you know, who am I to complain about that? But, yeah. You know, we really have to hope that Joe Cullen is going to make a difference over Brendan Daly. You know, we got to hope that because Joe Cullen has been a defensive coordinator, that Spags is willing to let him give his input and it have a lot more weight. You know, that Spags is humble and willing to accept other ideas. And we got to hope that Karloftis can really be, with his attitude, with his youth, with his aggressiveness, that he can make a huge impact on our defensive line.
I truly hope so. This would be nice. I know Mahomes and pardon me.
Woo!
I know Mahomes and the offense. They are who they are. They're the front runners. They're the showstoppers. But it would just be nice to see a top tier defense coming out of us, man. It's been a long time. Um, it's just it's really sad to see that, man. When you had so much potential in this defense, now some of it's gone, some of it's been replaced. You just don't know. But I love to see Mahomes and them score. Don't get me wrong, but there's nothing like seeing a defensive struggle, a real defense do what it has to do to stop it, so Mahomes can get those numbers that he's so deserving of. But the only way that's going to happen if we can stop them from scoring, we have to start dominating in order to go back to where we want to see our boys past the AFC Championship. We have to dominate. It's just it, man.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of us, depending on how long you've been a Chiefs fan, a lot of us have seen absolutely dominating defenses. We've seen absolutely dominating offensive lines. We've seen dominating tight ends and dominating running backs. We've had years where we had a complete team other than, just being a quarterback away or a wide receiver away or having a different coach. And I think there's a thirst there, to have all of it together. And, we're going to miss some of that now that Tyreek is gone. But, I think it's just natural for those of us who lived through these different sections to want to have had the dominant offensive line, like in the Willie Roaf and Will Shields years, to have the dominant tight ends and receivers, and to have that dominant defensive line and linebacker and defensive backs that we've had all on the same team at once, and just have a 30-point average, margin of win. I don't know if I'm getting close to what you're saying there or not, Sean, but I know that for me, that's the desire to just see beautiful football at every single position and just dominate the other team, whether you're on offense or defense.
Because I'm just done with the old stigma. I think the reason why Patrick Mahomes is so successful because he's broken a lot of stigmatas that has stuck on us or in the most worst way possible, right? It's like we don't have a quarterback. We never had a quarterback. And before him, regardless of what Gooch is talking about, Alex Smith is a part of that list of subpar quarterbacks that just couldn't get it done every year, maybe better luck next year type attitude. It was always like that. And then one year with Mahomes, you see the potential. Next year, we're champions. And now that stigma is over. We can't beat the Steelers at this, such. We've done that. We don't dominate the division. We've done that. It's like everything that they've put up as, the Chiefs are not good at this. We become good at it. Now it's the defense's turn. Like the Mahomes, Kelsey, Reed, Hilaire, all the offense, they always going to get that love. They're always going to get that respect because they deserve that respect, 100%. But for once, I would like to see somebody on our defense get as much true recognition. Not like Matthew where he's having decent seasons, but he's just sort of sporadic on Twitter. I'm just talking about like the defense as a whole saying, man, that Kansas City defense, that is nothing to play with. But it just with Spags, I just don't see that happening. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And Scott says you have to give Andy and Veach a hand in the, or that they have a hand in the decision-making process and the plan, and that includes the contract and the decision made with Clark. And yeah, Clark Hunt has to agree to some of these plays that they make for players. But at the same time, part of that I think is, he is trusting this to Andy, right? And so even what Spags wants or what Sutton wanted, it still falls back on Andy to an extent as the one to look at the tape and to give the thumbs up or the thumbs down. And so, but still, Spags or Veach goes out and gets the players according to what Spags wants to do on defense. And some of what Spags wants to do on defense is what the problem is. And even if you want to say, well, Veach is the one who kept bringing Sorensen back on 1-year deals. Well, guess who wanted that, right?
Right.
I don't think Veach was scouting Sorensen this past season and saying, you know what, we definitely need to bring this guy back. It was Spags saying, hey, this is my plan. This is how he fits into it. At least from my perspective. And I can be critical of Veach at points, but to me, Veach is going out and getting the guys that Spags wants, or at least according to the specifications of what Spags wants. I think this is another legitimate point here. I think this is something we're all positive about, right? With the defensive back
Maybe if
room.
DBs give an extra second or two in coverage, they get home instead. Yeah, that could be a thing too. I mean, that Bengals game really kind of showed where we're at.
They were
At the
pretty much
corners.
hand in hand, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that just for them to just do the same play over and over, that's when you know you need to be worried about your defense. That should be another sign. When an offense can just do the same thing, like when you watch that New England game, where they just ran the ball the entire game. As a defensive coordinator, you should be you should be sick in the stomach, ready to throw up, because it's like playing Madden, and you have a child and you let them turn on the safe mode or whatever the easiest mode on Madden, while you still playing all Madden, and you just wondering how is he getting everything done? How is he getting everything done? Like that's embarrassing, man. And for us to be one of the worst run defenses, and to watch the Bengals game and them to just do the same thing, just over and over again, just right over there, Ward, right over there, and them to be successful at it. Spags should have just been livid. Should have been like, what is going on? How is this happening? But
Yeah, it's like me going bowling with kids and having the bumpers on, and I still bowl like a 78 or something, or when I go out with my wife in public, knowing that she's the 10 and I'm the 0.
Let's go back to that horrible bowling.
What about it?
Can't hear anything now. I don't know if the audio is messing up or if it's on my end. Do you really play with the bumpers and get a 78?
Man, it's been known to happen.
I mean, yeah.
Hey, Holly.
Yeah, good to see you, Holly.
78.
I
just had to get that in.
I do my best to bull your age, Gooch.
Hey, now. Don't be telling everybody everything about me.
No.
That's messed up. That was pretty close, though. I liked it. I liked it.
That was pretty close, huh, Gooch?
I wasn't even trying, though.
That's a sad sign. He wasn't even trying.
I'm probably gonna get going.
That's because outside of him and Aaron are the only ones that listened to me for the last year. The only guys I've talked to. I tried to message this one guy called Big Chief Sean, but he don't like to message anybody back for 2 days.
What are you talking about?
Hey, Ollie, how you doing? Holy smokes. Was that Liz I was hearing? All that barking, I knew she was nearby.
368. I would put that up there. You know, that coaching moment, I would put that up there with Bob Sutton against New England in the AFC Championship game, where was it like 3 straight third downs? They ran the exact same play.
Exact same
like
play.
I would put those two
Gronk.
things together right there and compare them because they're so comparable in their level of frustration.
You could just see the season just going away every first down. Every first down, you could just see it. Like they did it again. They did it again. They did it again. They did it again. They scored. How did they score? Why did we let them score? Yes, a lot of people can say the back hauls that game. Yes, Brady got away with the rough and the plaster, but D Ford's a moron. But besides that,
I remember seeing Sorensen start to break on a ball and stopped. It would have been intercepted if he kept going, but he stopped.
look, we already feel bad enough for everybody in New Orleans. There are actually some dumbasses in New Orleans probably cheering their asses off. Yes, they're stupid. They don't know what they had. And Sorensen, and we're like, oh, what a bunch of morons.
Hey, I got to throw this up and get an answer here from Liz because this is a singular word. So who are you referring to? If you're referring to plural people, I would think that, but Gooch hasn't been talking much if that's who you're referring to, Liz.
She's talking to Holly now. She doesn't care.
Oh,
That could be.
I think we're going to make Scott our new talent agent.
yeah. This must be Angels report. Yeah.
Well, everybody, I think we're probably here about near the end of the show.
Now that Liz made it, it's time to go.
Yeah, now that Liz is here, and I know you guys could hear my kids in the background there a little bit, so...
It's the weekend, man. You probably gave more sugar than Studio 54.
Hey, there is not one thing about my mouth that looks, sounds, feels, tastes, smells anything like Dan Sorensen. So, Liz, I'm not going to take that.
You know it is an ironic nickname, right?
Oh, it's because of the talent agent comment. Yeah, we're going to agree with that sentiment. 368. Everybody have a happy 4th. Have a safe extended weekend if you get an extended weekend. If not, quit your job and find someplace where you're loved and valued like you deserve. I want to thank Big Chief for jumping on here with us.
Thank you for having me. I know I came in a little late, but I appreciate y'all letting me drop by.
I did too.
Hey man, better late than never. So yeah, it's
always a joy, always a pleasure to be here.
This is Sean's debut on the Back Talk Bros channel. So I mean, this is awesome. And then we'll let you guys know when Sean gets us on there officially as the Back Talk Bros. We've been on there for RGR, but yeah.
It would be nice to have the Back Talk Bros on there for my first. Ooh, I cannot wait, man. I'm getting all my stuff together right now, and y'all will be getting all of y'all will be definitely, and you too, Scott, if you can see me, Scott, you DM me, dude, because I'm going to be interviewing you. Like I said, this is going to be a whole new thing for me. I cannot
Hey.
wait to talk to all of y'all
Hey, Cole.
individually.
Cole, I know you're watching. Come on in. I've already sent the invite for now in the huddle. Come on in. We don't bite. Well, Liz might, but we don't.
I nibble. I occasionally nibble. So
Yeah.
so if you good with that.
Liz is even biting Holly, apparently. I did not mean to call you that. Yeah, sure, Liz. Sure. What did she say? Oh, that's what she said.
How about you? Wow. I mean, have a good day is nice. How about you? I mean, I guess that's the new thing. I'm gonna have to get with that slang. Hey, Ma, how about you?
We like Holly too.
That rings up there when Ken Jennings answered in on Jeopardy and said, "What is hose instead of, or what is a hoe instead of what is a rake?"
You watch Jeopardy, Keys?
Oh yeah, man! I used to watch it with my grandma all the time.
With his HGs, I used to watch Jeopardy too. Alex Trebek had all black hair when I was watching.
Man.
Oh man.
Gooch, you are old, man.
Man. That's back when Trebek had that look like a very boring Magnum PI. He looks. It was very distinguished in the 80s to have a mustache that you look like you needed to be on a watch list for.
Hey, can we get that sound recorded, and then when one of us hits the jackpot on something and says something really insightful, we'll just play it right after.
I would love that. Play it a lot for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say we play it probably for everybody but Gooch because he's always wrong.
Yeah, it's surprisingly how insightful wrong he is all the time.
What?
How lucky he gets.
I mean,
sometimes.
Look, sure, it's called Google, Aaron. Come on, stop.
Gooch is as lucky as a Dan Sorensen interception.
Ooh, that's kind of messed up. That's not nice.
See,
to say.
here's the problem.
I would say
I've
honestly,
practiced.
I'm sorry, we're done, Gooch.
I've already practiced my lines where I go, and that's when I shot him, Judge. Why y'all pushing me?
Oh man, you know what? If I see you rolling up with Frank Clark, I'm gonna be like Sorensen when I'm supposed to be covering someone, because you're supposed to zig and zag, right? So as Sorensen was supposed to be running, deep with the receiver, and then he would zig and zag over to the sideline to get his Gatorade midway through the play. That's what I'm gonna do if I see you rolling up with Frank Clark now, Gooch.
Oh, you saying he's rolling up with Frank Clark? Well, just like Frank Clark.
He just threatened to shoot me, though.
They're going to get caught before they even get there, just like Frank Clark. And he's going to put it all on Gooch, and Gooch is going to be like, what are you talking about? And nobody's going to believe Gooch, which is going to be a shame.
Let me give you some insight into Gooch. I've been doing what Frank was doing a long time before Frank and never got caught.
I don't know. Frank's pretty good at getting people set up.
Plus, with me being black, I move around at night, so you can't even see me unless I have my eyes open and smile.
He's doing a little time for Frank. I don't know. He
can't edit it out.
Well. If anything Frank Clark can do is set people up for the wrong things.
I don't know if you noticed Keys putting his hand in his hands because he knows I'm making it trouble for him to edit later.
We can't edit it. It's live.
Yeah, this is live. Well, I can go in
and... I love it.
How many times I had to edit that out of the picks pool?
I can cut things out of it live.
Jeff laughing.
I'm just not going to watch a 2.5 hour live to find a bunch of spots I need to cut out. Hey, Lego made it in.
Anybody watching, it's okay for me to make that joke because I am of the Negro persuasion. Can I say that?
I don't.
I have no clue.
Well, like
I have no idea.
Well, like you said, it's live, so you already said it. So
Oh yeah, I guess for those that don't believe, look, check me out. I'm right here. All right, here we go. Hello. Big,
yeah, look how black he is, y'all.
Six
I know that
foot
boy
two,
burnt.
6'2" sexual
look,
chocolate.
Do y'all
Right
see
up.
that? That's burnt chocolate.
That
y'all see
is
that? Did y'all see that?
that is the kind of chocolate my mother-in-law thought she had on her fingers once, and then
No.
she licked it and realized that it was from that diaper she changed.
He looks like black licorice with that screen.
Oh, what the hell?
Like, stop it. He said, "See me, y'all. Y'all can see me. 6 foot. We can't see a dang thing, Coach." I don't know what he was pulling with that.
What's the
He's
point?
like, "Look, I'm black." Everybody's like, "The screen is black, I guess." Like, I guess that's a thing. I guess we can't hate on black screens now. So I was expecting him to show his face.
I did. I
No,
did.
you did. The screen was dark, man.
No, I did it right here.
Look, where
That's
you
why Scott
at?
was laughing.
Where are you
Oh,
at,
sweet
man?
Jesus.
You light skinned. How can I not see you in the dark?
Before we get
There's
sued
about
or
to be,
something,
there's about to be some.
we might cut this out.
Everybody in
This is the
chat right
reason-
now. Give me an L right now in the chat if you saw Gooch. Or give
This
me a
is
G.
why.
Actually, give me a G.
This is why there's.
If you saw
This
it.
is why there's black on black crime.
No, that was a crime line like that. That was insane.
That might be
Right.
We are checking every box to get canceled now.
What? He's the one that decided to
kicked
tell
off of
people
YouTube.
to look at me. I'm Gooch, and you had the one chance. Y'all coming out in y'all new channel that everybody should be watching, and they need to see what you and Keys look like, and you gave them the one opportunity to go, okay, man, here goes Gooch. Let me screenshot this so I can know what they look like, so I can start following them.
I'm in the trailer, baby. I'm in the trailer.
You in the trailer?
I'm in the trailer. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one black guy in the movie you see for 5 seconds and you don't see after the movie start.
You Charles.
That's me.
You Charles. Baby.
I'm gonna put this in the right order up here.
Yes.
I wonder why our editing job is so hard.
Yes, they all understand. Thank you, Liz. Thank you. They all understand. Like you see what I'm saying? Now, dang Gooch.
If you ever wonder why it takes so long for the huddle or the Mod Father picks or the meetup to come out, I am the reason, because it takes them 4 days to edit all my crap in order to get something presentable.
Listen, we need whoever the editor was that made Pulp Fiction like cable TV friendly. Like that's close to the level of work that Aaron and I do when we have to edit one of those videos with Gooch, and especially if it's Gooch and Liz. Yeah. And so
because
I'm just going to throw this out there to the Hollywood execs. If you need some grade A level editors, Aaron and I are available. We're experienced.
Yeah, because Gooch is more like Samuel L. Jackson and Liz is more like Uma Thurman. They just have their own little language. I'm more like John Travolta, and the Mod Father's more like the Wolf. While Keys, you can be Marcellus. I see a Marcellus Wallace coming.
Keys is the librarian.
No, he's the librarian. Okay, like then you'll be who was cool in that movie?
It's only a scary movie.
No,
you put your face in it.
Who was the guy that John Travolta went to get the heroin? That's Keys. He's just so cool, sitting in the chair and just like don't bring her into my house. Prank call her. That's Keys. That's Keys all day. That's you, Keys.
Did anyone else hear a voice that sounded like Satan say, "Oh hell no"?
No.
Can I? I don't know if I can do this or not. Well, it'll just be audio. I'm going to play this clip here since you guys are talking about, since we're talking about Pulp Fiction and Gooch. This is a snippet that sounds very much like Gooch. This is Ray Liotta on I think Jimmy Kimmel talking about Joe Pesci. So I'm going to try to play this for you guys, and hopefully you can hear it. I won't give you the video for it, just the audio.
Was there De Niro, Lorraine? Pesci didn't make it though. Oh, he didn't? No, he sent a letter. Oh, really? How old-fashioned. And then Bob read it. Did he really? And basically it said, "Sorry, I can't be there." But the what the
Sounds like Joe Pesci to me.
Sounds like something not right to me.
Sounds like Gooch to me.
It sounds like Gooch at church when they ask for the communion plate. Time to donate, brother. What the? What?
Gooch just put the keys to your jet in there.
That sounds like Gooch at the DMV.
Right? Yeah.
Or at the grocery store.
That-
Behind a lady with 6 kids and 3 bags.
That's
And
what
all these-
Tyron
all
would have
the
sounded
other
like
kids.
if he'd been mic'd up for all those Sorensen plays.
Yeah, that's exactly what Tyron Matthew says every time Dan Saracen gets a ball.
Now he gets to say it in New Orleans.
Which was
I wonder if old Harms will be a New Orleans fan since Sorensen is over there, and I wonder secretly at night if he wears Tom Brady avocado pajamas because you know he loves Brady. And then since he's now also a fan of Josh Allen, I wonder if he sleeps in his Bills helmet with his retainer. Hey Dan, if you're watching this, game on, buddy.
Well,
Who's been asking for lobster?
Back Bros. We'll be back.
Maybe mine is Gooch. I might get canceled.
If YouTube lets the channel stay on. Oh, this brings up a great point, Gooch. Let's just end it on this. Why do you think about Harms at night in bed?
Well, because usually when I'm thinking about him, I'm dreaming about physical harm.
He's in harm's
And
way.
we'll leave it at that.
We here at Back Talk Bros do not promote violence.
I have to think about physical harm because every time he comes at me, at least my partner Keys over there, Keys will get in his stuff and make him like really look like I want to say moron. What's a good word? Oh, I already said it, so we can't edit it, right? So never mind. Yeah.
I can totally edit this out. And
I think he
we're
called me a broken clock one time. Said I was only right twice a day, but he's never right. So, what kind of clock is that?
The destroyed one?
Ah, there you go.
one with no
Eating
hands.
lobster and shrimp, prime rib, and scallops, which is really green onions, I was told. Is that right?
Scallions, yes.
Yeah.
Well, guys and ladies, we're sizzling out here. Probably our
Yeah, it's been fun.
career on the
I
channel
gotta
as well.
We'll start a new one.
We'll just keep popping
call it-
up.
No, everybody enjoy this content so we can act like fools all the time. Because if we can't
Pretty
piss
good
off
at it.
Gooch, what's the point? Like,
Call ourselves the Back
Yep.
Talk Renegades and start a new channel.
Well, there's
Look,
the jackpot
and-
sound. Perfect timing.
that was so good.
Everybody have a great extended weekend. We want to thank you guys again for joining us. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, give us that like. If you like this content, share it with others. And Gooch, if you're available to send us home, I'll let you do it, because I think it's about the first time you've gotten to do it on a live.
Wow, yeah. Hey, Scott, I'm sorry you're triggered, buddy. I hope it's not nothing I did. We appreciate you guys coming to see us. Big Chief, as always, coming in, being a part of us. Anybody that watches us, we appreciate you. We are truly humbled and honored that you would take some time out to just hang with us. Even when we're talking nonsense, we still like to have fun. Make sure when you get off of here, whether it be tomorrow or tonight, tell somebody you love them. Don't wait to give them their flowers, because you don't know when you're going to be able to see them again, and tomorrow's not promised. So we appreciate you, and you guys have a good night.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Scott, are you triggered like Frank's gun or what? Let us know. All right, thank you guys. Make sure you check out the description for the link to the original reaction we did if you want to hear more from Chris Sims about the other quarterbacks on there. And make sure you check out the link for the merchandise for the Therese Paler Scholarship Foundation at Howard University, and to get an awesome All Juice t-shirt. I'm not wearing it because that would mean I'd be wearing it every day this week, because I filmed basically every day this week. So make sure you check that out. And go ahead, Gooch.
Also, have a safe and happy 4th. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And if you do, do it twice and name it after me.
I'm not going to say anything. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're going to hit the exit video. And again, we'll see you next time.
You got your team, and we got a kingdom. Ready for war, we score at will. We're the Super Bowl champs. The